My spam folder's full of women that want to sleep with me. Someone should tell them.
Get in the bus, man. Everyone has that. That's pretty much everyone's experience with a spam folder.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
I don't look at my spam
like
folder.
the Frozen meme. Like, someone should tell them. I'm gonna tell them.
Would you prefer? Would you prefer it to like? Would you prefer to have spam of lonely singles that are related to your sexual orientation, or would you rather?
I don't know
not
if
get
it'd make
spam?
me feel more like sad. Like if it was
inclusive spam scams.
Like I don't know if it'd make me feel more like sad and lonely if it was like successfully tempting on some level, even though it's obviously all fake. But like the fact that it's a woman is just like it's just so off base. I'm like, leave me alone. This isn't working.
I am pretty proud that once YouTube thought I was a pregnant woman and that needed like things on the adverts and stuff, and I'm like, what am
advertising to you like special shirts?
Yeah, and like bras and whatnot, and pregnancy things, and I'm like, yeah, I'm down for this. Non-relevant ads are my favorite.
Speaking of pregnancy, welcome to Dialog Choices podcast. We're watching the Nintendo Direct from like 4 days ago because we were talking shit about Dark Souls, and then Andrew brought it up, and then we're like, oh, I guess we'll watch this instead of talking shit about Dark Souls. We have a topic.
No, we can talk.
We can multitask if we finish this if we finish this 44-minute video in less than 2 hours. We can talk shit about Dark Souls afterwards.
That's gonna be difficult.
There you go.
We've baited the line. What could it mean? Anyway, welcome to another one of these things where we watch the press conference and I skip through the boring parts probably.
Do you?
And then,
but the rating is pending. Also, COVID.
There's a lot of like low build up to. Yeah.
Oh wait a minute!
Wow, they just
Pikmin.
They don't need to like trick you. You know what you're here. You know what it's
I know, but it's
like.
They almost always are so dependent on the idea of I'm gonna show iconography that you're familiar with, and you go before they actually reveal the logo at the end. So it's very funny that they just are like, it's Pikmin 4. Just don't be surprised. Anyway,
I think it's more of just like that builds the hype. Seeing that title card come up, you're like, oh, let's go. And now, what is that? That thing is silly looking. It's ready.
Foreign.
Music.
I mean, okay, so Keith's reading the subtitles here, obviously. This isn't showing up in the game.
Yeah, but they can see it.
Oh, okay.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, I'm recording.
That's a red Pikmin, by the way. Oh my god, those are blue and yellow Pikmin.
Whoa,
if you didn't know.
That's the color wheel. Look at us go.
So what is this game about? I wonder.
Man, this game would be so much
looking at it.
Pikmin would be so much prettier if all the Pikmin were secondary colors instead of primary colors.
Secondary colors are better, but it's true.
Granted, they want to have green buds on top, so that'd be a problem.
It'd be a lot.
What the fuck?
It's an ice Pikmin.
That's
ice
not
is
what
the other
plants
color.
is.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Iceberg lettuce is gonna fuck you up.
It straight up killed that thing.
I played the original Pikmin for some amount of time and never beat it as a kid. So I'm vaguely
I played
aware.
it a little bit on the Game Boy Advanced, I think.
Basically, Pikmin is like the more eco-friendly version of Factorio, where you crash land on an alien planet and you have to exploit the local wildlife in order to escape the planet.
I did not understand how to play the game because I didn't read the tutorial.
It is a trip. It's very different from a lot of things.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh whoa."
Oh whoa.
You have a knack to hear people say.
It's all he said. He literally just said, "Oh whoa."
Yeah.
It wasn't
like
the Game Boy.
The entire voice line is just a spaceman says, "Oh whoa."
It was a 3DS. I just now checked. So what?
Oh, yeah.
What was it?
Another Pikmin.
What was Pikmin originally on? It was on GameCube.
No, the original I think it was on the GameCube, right?
GameCube. Yep.
Yeah. But I played it on a portable thing.
Pikmin Touch, I think, was a game.
Yes, Pikmin Touch was, I think, the most recent one. Because that people were upset that the most recent Pikmin game was like a mobile game. Oh my god.
Oh.
Angie Pikmin.
Oh no, the vague, angry strawberries.
This year.
Those guys are just strawberries.
On the 7th?
Those are just angry strawberries. Look, a talking man that talks.
But we don't want to hear the talking man that talks.
No, just gonna
he's
watch
just
games.
gonna prep you for what's coming up. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Ew.
Finally, I was waiting for the Oh,
It's just the Xenoblade 3 JRPG has an expansion. Okay. None of us played
dancing
it.
animals.
I've actually never known what the gameplay of this was.
Why is it called Friends Samba?
Because it's a monkey dancing with his friends. Do you not see that?
No, it
Look at all these
isn't. It
people
would be
dancing with-
Amigos.
Oh no,
Actually.
we have someone who can translate the title. They're fucked.
Everybody
about-
knows what Amigo means.
They're about to get owned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
What
a
is it?
Japanese company. We
What
understand.
what does it mean? Dance with friends?
No. It's the samba of the friend.
What's samba?
Samba is like a Brazilian style of dance.
So
it's
dance
specific
with
type.
friends?
Yeah, but specifically
No,
samba.
Or is it dance of friends?
Dance of friends.
Dance of friend. Single.
Yeah.
Singular
That sounds like a
friends.
Nintendo title.
It does.
I don't see the problem.
Oh my god,
Oh my
jazz
go-
cats.
He was making that like white guy on internet face where he does the thumbs up. That kid. What? Got a passion for fashion?
For fashion?
Who doesn't?
This is the place to glam it up and express yourself. Here
It's lit.
Oh, finally. A game for my mom.
and you're in luck. Tons
Oh,
of people
The
no.
graphics are kind of crappy though.
Oh no, this camera.
them alike if you
Why is it like that? You can't see anything.
outfits for them to
Wait, someone
clo-
just took the Wait a second. This is just Animal Crossing without the island management. You're just like, I'm gonna put on fancy clothes, walk
That sounds
around, and
great.
tell
It
other
is.
people their clothes, their
This,
fancy.
this
It
always
is.
sounds like an upgrade.
design options.
No.
I don't want the island.
Item of final flourish.
The island is the only part of Animal Crossing that matters. Everything else is like fluff to distract you from the lack of anything else to do.
I'm not the most
Tall
It's like
people
the
mean-
exact same
person,
fucking interface. Holy shit, dude.
Is it?
But aren't these outfits
Yeah.
kind of
I
bland?
mean, it's just a grid of things, right? No, this game looks really ugly.
No, the way that it puts your character in the center with
She
two
doesn't look like she's
stuff on
doing
the
too
side.
well. She looked like
No,
she
she was
needed a
done.
health drink in Yakuza.
Exclusively for Nintendo Switch this year.
Yeah, makes sense. Something you could play on the go. All right. Yeah.
Play the dress up doll. It's pretty good.
Yeah, you
Do you
played on
control
the
the
subway
character
or
in
something.
that? It looked like the character was walking
Yeah.
on a rails or something.
New paid DLC for
No, you control the character.
Purple werewolf.
Why did they specify that it's a paid DLC?
malls and outskirts along
Because Nintendo Online gives you free DLC
What?
when you pay for the.
Why was Richter
Oh.
so tall?
Dracula himself.
Because your character's so short.
Richter's like a foot taller than Dead Cells, man.
Which legions of monsters and frenetic
I have
Yeah,
finished Dead
Cells
Cells
Man's very
once,
tiny.
original covers
and I can't reliably finish Dead Cells more than once.
during your quest in
Dead Cells is okay. I would say it's like.
I think it's one of the best games ever.
Nintendo Switch
It's
Really?
so fun.
People seem to like it. I don't
Yeah.
really like roguelikes.
Nintendo eShop.
It's so like there's so
fine.
many coins flying all over. It's cool.
I just don't really like. I don't like the part where the game
Yeah.
starts over because I died and then I can't use my past experience to play better because the level changed.
That's true. That is
Like
true.
you get better at the game, obviously, but everything
I don't.
moved. I want to learn the
Yeah.
I want to learn the level.
Track your journey and the
Yeah.
entire circle.
That's why Pathologic's the best roguelike because it doesn't change when you die and
this
have
a-
to start over.
Nintendo Switch.
Is this a Tron game?
Pathologic is the best roguelike.
Yeah,
Hot takes.
Wait,
I mean everyone's first playthrough they die and have to start the whole run over.
can't be good. The time-bending
We did not care about that Tron game.
return
No,
HD.
Just go away, Tron.
Becoming a ghost
it didn't even look like a real video game.
control object
No, that's true.
with your power.
Is Ghost Trick a point-and-click adventure on the touch controller?
Kind.
Is this
Oh,
like-
it's a
more-
Final Destination fucking bullet time.
It's more of a puzzle game.
Summer.
She looks. Why does she have
Wow.
chicken hair?
Chicken hair.
That's anime.
That's cool. I like that idea. for chicken.
She had a waddle hair.
She did.
Yes, bring back Carfu
Is this-
from Watch Dog. No, Sleeping Dogs.
Is this
the good
Yakuza?
game?
No.
Deca Police. There's 10 of them exactly.
No, there's
Police
two police
center.
centers. Come on, man. The Deckism.
Deckism.
Oh, that voice actor. Okay. That's interesting.
That was an unflattering
Yeah,
photo of that one guy with the goggles. They really could take it a second one. Whoever used that as his profile was being mean.
Is this from Atlas or what's the company called that makes Persona?
Atlas.
Atlas.
Every
Yeah,
30
looks like an
seconds, this
Atlas
looks like a
game.
different genre.
Does it? It looks like
it's just a turn-based.
Oh, now
look-
they're furries. Oh, okay.
It looked like anime LA
Wait.
Noir, and then suddenly it had turn-based combat, and I'm like, deep pro. Oh, I'm gonna profile this person.
He's a criminal. All right, time to kill him. Like,
What the fuck?
It's an Overwatch.
Oh yeah,
Don't combo.
propaganda game, first ever turn-based strategy game to have racial profiling as an action.
That's
I mean, is a furry a
Is
race?
that a stitch? Is that little Bayonetta? It is Bayonetta.
Yeah. It's baby Bayonetta.
I don't know the plot of
That-
Bayonetta at all.
That's not baby Bayonetta. That's just a more moderately proportioned Bayonetta.
Yeah, so a baby.
No, it is.
I watched Toaster play an hour of Bayonetta when he decided he was going to play all of them again when 3 came out. And that's
Good luck.
pretty much what I
This
remember about
looks really
Bayonetta.
good though.
Graphically, it looks pretty good, but
That's a neat style.
is
I
the-
really like the style.
it's okay.
It
so
looks
it's
like
not
an
a
artist that
combo
I know about
base.
online who I have a print of on my wall. They did those really cool like Dark Souls.
Oh,
They those
I
like
like
Dark
that she
Souls and
can't
Bloodborne and
attack.
Berserk sceneries.
Okay, that's cool. One of the things I hate about Bayonetta is the combat. Combat in Bayonetta is awful because it's got that Devil May Cry combat.
Hot takes from
Yeah,
Andrew.
it feels like it is from watching.
I mean, it's from the creator
just- I-
of Devil May Cry.
yeah.
The whole point is to
I
be
know.
like
I
Devil May
just
Cry.
don't like that combat style. I don't like the combo combat.
I like it. I don't like.
I prefer to punch things.
My hot take is that I like Nero more than any of the other characters in those games because fucking Dante's moveset is so bloated that it like overrides my brain, and I'm like, please no. And Nero has like a fucking Tony Hawk move where, like how Tony Hawk moves added in each sequel are designed to like let you combo better. And Splatoon 8 expansion pass, don't play that. But like in Tony Hawk games, every sequel adds a new move. At least in the early games, that would let you combo more. Like they had the manuals and the reverts and the spine transfers. And Nero's core mechanic is that he has a stretchy gumma arm that either drags him to large enemies or small enemies to him, so he can continue comboing. And I'm like, that's extremely Tony Hawk. That totally fits in a game about combos.
Yeah, yeah.
It makes me not want to play anyone else because I played him first.
I think like God of War was the only time I tolerated combo combat.
Yeah, that God of War was boring.
Yeah, see, that's like my limit of combo. Like I liked God of War, but like then it was like, no, this is too much. I don't want to think about fighting moves in a video game. That's why I don't play fighting games. Like,
I don't think I like the redesigns of any of the Disney characters.
Wait, and this is just a game from 1992.
Yeah,
yeah.
basically.
Actually, I'm being unfair. From 1997.
Oh, I didn't like that static camera. Yeah. Yeah, I think I hate this game.
What? How? Okay. Weird.
I don't. There's
Locally.
something. There's a weird
That's
lack
nice.
of energy that hurts me. Like
Well,
the camera's
it's clearly just a rescanning. Like, it's not.
Like
there
the
wasn't,
camera's
like,
so
thought put
far
into this.
away, and there's
looks-
like no
it looks like
energy to the screen.
It looks
And
like a slow
everyone's-
speedrunners.
It's like
Yeah, it does.
this
I
looks
was gonna
like
say.
boring Rayman.
Rayman? Oh, yeah.
It makes me just want to play Rayman Legends.
But it's Mickey and Friends, probably for 3-year-olds. So, you know.
Well, yeah, it's definitely
Can't
for,
have
like,
much energy.
babies.
Yeah.
Like,
Not that adults can't play.
It's got that big zoomed out 4-player co-op camera angle from Super Mario 3D World, except without any of the energy that game had.
And apparently without
fun.
online multiplayer, because they specifically said locally at the floor players.
All I know about this game is discourse. Hector's back?
All I want is this game to stop being a game. Like, please.
What does that mean?
God, just stop, man.
Emblem of Acumen.
Do you have anything more to say about that? Do you can elaborate on that thought at all?
I think Fire Emblem is a worse game than Xenoblade Chronicles.
What?
I think it is fucking trash, and I would
just
much
feel
rather
strange
just
to
have, like,
compare. What do they have in common?
I would just rather, because they're both RPGs. JRPGs.
One of them's a strategy game,
Yeah,
Actually,
you know what?
Fire
a better
Emblem-
strategy
and one of
game?
them's like a real-time
Advance
button
Wars.
mash game.
Yeah, Advance Wars is really good.
Advance Wars is
actually,
probably
Fire
better than
Emblem
Fire
has,
Emblem, but
has choices in the story, right?
I would much rather have Advance Wars.
The original had.
I just played the first Fire Emblem that came to the United States, and I loved that game. And then
Yeah,
I kind
that
of
one
just
had choices.
didn't get caught up for a while. And then when I looked at Fire Emblem again, it was like a weird anime boy dating sim that was more, and no one ever talks about the combat or shows the combat. It's always just like endless stuff about all the relationships and all the waifus and things. And I'm like, I don't like literally nothing you're saying about this game appeals to me, so I don't really want to play these games.
Oh, this looks good. Oh no, it's not gameplay.
No.
I thought it was. It's gonna be great.
Oh no.
That was a
That's
tree,
the
not
future of
humanity. That was not the future of humanity. It was the future of a tree.
Oh.
Ooh,
Well, the animation looks cool.
animated
but-
visual novel portraits are neat.
That looks less cool.
Oh, nice. Yes.
It's a branching visual novel.
Lena Rain is incredible.
I like Clown Man.
To which destiny do you aspire? Harmony, the fall of
Okay.
Reverie, launches
Yeah, it's just a
first on Nintendo
very
Switch this June.
I
normal
don't
looking
nod.
visual novel.
Oh, it's from the Life is Strange people.
These games will have
Yeah.
roll
But as a proper visual novel, I like that.
Ew.
Oh my god, another Octopath Traveler? Finally. I was in such anticipation for the sequel.
How many times have you finished the first Octopath Traveler?
Zero. 0 times have I
Ghost
played
Werewolf.
Octopath Traveler.
8 new stories await. Which path
Octopath Traveler is the like absolute perfect culmination of a game I don't want to play.
adventure through a brand new world?
Really?
I think that
Yeah,
the
I do.
I think
don't
that the,
like turn-based RPGs.
I kind of like the art style where it looks like they took the pixel art and cooked it
There
in the
we
oven
go.
for a while.
Now that's
Yeah.
what I'm talking
like that.
about.
but I don't like that they're tiny JRPG people for no reason. Like I don't have nostalgia for tiny JRPG people.
Oh, fair enough.
Having
like
characters
those,
I can
though.
characters I can visibly make out helps me like attach to them better as characters I care about in a story.
But that's what portraits
Yeah.
are for. You make the portraits into dialogue.
That,
And then
yeah,
attach the
quality.
but they don't have that. They just have little text bubbles above them.
Oof, that sucks.
Oh, it ran like poop on the demo. Oh no.
Like that's my issue with CRPGs sometimes. I'm just like I want to
Yeah.
see everybody so I can better remember
Right.
who they are and see their faces emote,
Yep, that's true.
even if it's like a very rote system like Mass Effect 1. It still gives me
You see,
more
this
to
art style,
attach to.
I really dig this this sort of art
Yeah, the
style.
more pixels here are helpful.
Yeah.
And they're
Just like
bouncy.
Chrono
They got
Trigger.
bounce in their animations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They-
this is
they,
just
they
Chrono
got that
Trigger,
trick where
yeah.
they over exaggerate the motion and then snap back to sell it.
It's a trick from theater if you don't know.
It's
my
a
God,
trick
that
I
boat was
incorporated in the Ad Astra video essay.
Hmm.
The bounce.
Oh, look at that! It's the thing.
When do,
the
when,
end,
when,
the
when
what's
do I
called?
get Super Dodgeball Advance again?
Oh no, it's
It's-
not.
it's-
Hamster
right
Man.
What was
This
that?
game,
That was a weird.
this game plays terrible
No, this-
if
Oh
you
my
have high
God.
ping.
You
This doesn't
definitely
look
needed
more
to
than
This
a
put
doesn't, this doesn't look
back.
Dodgeball Advance. This looks like that fucking
What,
that one-on-one
Nintendo
game where you
Strikers?
no, there's like a
Mario
one-on-one
Strikers?
game where you bounce a frisbee around.
I don't know.
Freaking Giant Bomb made a huge deal about it for a while, and then eventually
Oh
they
my
hyped
God,
it up enough that it actually
finally.
got a remake by the people that did Dive Kick and stuff. Way forward. I played a lumberjack version of it or something.
Wait, what?
Aren't these first-person dungeon crawler? Yeah.
Yeah.
They're showing the main menu, 3 images of main menu.
Listen,
as
there's
the
not a lot of
first
visuals in these
introduction.
kinds of games.
Yeah, there's not a lot to look at here.
I like first-person dungeon crawlers, which is
They're
why
good.
it's why I got
Yeah.
sad when I found out that the average JRPG doesn't. The average
do that,
Japanese
yeah.
one does not do them the way I want them to. Like they're not even remotely like Legend of Grimrock,
Like Legend of Grimrock, yeah.
which infinitely set that like starting that genre with those games ruined the genre for me because those games are so
Yeah, because
engaging.
they were
and
the best.
They're so engaging and interesting, and the rest of the genre is like, would you like to grind? No.
Yeah.
What if you
Especially
grind?
JRPGs, yeah. Very true.
Like the grid map, which seems inherently designed for exploration. That's like why you would have this traversal and mapping system is usually just an excuse for repetitive grinding. I'm like, oh, okay.
I remember I played Doom for mobile, and you think like this was back in before the iPhone
Fucking
came out.
Advance Wars. Andy,
And guess what? It was one
and
of
the other
dungeon
guy,
crawlers like that.
Henry. What was his name?
Was it Henry?
I don't remember his name. I know that's
Wow.
Andy.
I-
Max,
Andy, yeah.
Sammy.
Yeah,
It's
they're
Advance
back.
Wars. Wow. Oh
I
my
like
God.
I've listened to the
I
theme
can't
songs
wait.
of Olaf and Griff so much.
So it's gonna be like a whole new game, right?
Hopefully.
Oh, it's just Advance Wars 1 and 2 again, a game I've already beaten multiple times. I
Well,
can't wait to play
oh.
it again.
I do kind of want
Cool.
to play it.
Well,
I've
Well,
never-
you don't
I haven't
remember
done
the
a Let's
story.
Play of Advance Wars.
That's fine.
You don't remember?
Also, the
I'm
the
just mad
music is
because
so fucking good in that game for a
So
Game Boy
much, yeah,
Advance
absolutely.
game.
They are, yes. I like Advance Wars, but I want
Yeah,
new
amazing.
Advance Wars games.
I don't like Kirby.
Wow, hot take.
He lost his powers.
I just like Kirby in Smash 1, and then I don't like Kirby as a franchise.
Wait, Kirby is a franchise, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. He
In fact,
doesn't like
it's made by the people who
He
make
just
Smash.
Mhm.
Well,
Oh, aren't you hyped for this game where you can only do a basic attack and jump?
Look at this virgin protagonist. Don't you want to transform into a Chadman?
honestly, it actually does look pretty fun.
Them selling it.
if it's
Them selling it. It's like, look
Yeah.
at what a sad baby you are at first, and then you level up. It just reminds me of that like DLC quest game we played. Where at the beginning you have to
yeah.
buy the ability to walk left. You have to buy the ability to jump.
Yeah.
it seems to be like puzzle focused, maybe.
Can Magalore restore his powers and safely return to his world?
I'm wondering if it is something like, Shovel Knight or something like that.
Clearing story mode.
Maybe.
Or the other one. What's the other one that's better than Shovel Knight?
What do you mean by
You
like
played
Shovel
it.
Knight for starters? Like I don't understand the vector of comparison.
A Metroidvania, 2D Metroidvania style puzzle focused platformer.
Select stages and self.
Yeah, Hollow Knight, that's the one.
I don't think that Kirby's gonna make a Metroidvania.
Unfortunate.
Kirby games are usually pretty linear and kind of mindless.
That is
You just kind
unfortunate.
of run forward and listen and vibe.
To the new story in Kirby's Return to
A lot of
Dreamland
remakes.
Deluxe.
Yes.
We're looking forward to
Oh.
the new story.
I'm like, there's a lot of
Wow.
remakes, and they're like, what if the Game Boy? I'm like, oh, I don't know where this is going.
Game Boy games are being added to Nintendo Switch Online.
Yeah.
Wow.
On Nintendo Switch, you can play these games anytime,
Finally.
anywhere.
All of them, though? Or just 3?
Was that a Link to
'Cause
the
I think-
Past or a Link's Awakening?
6.
Games that will be available at
6? Come on, there's thousands. And they have the games.
Play Tetraminos and aim for a high score.
Tetrominos.
I don't like Tetraminos. I don't like that. I call them
Did you
Tetrominos.
not know that's what they're called? What?
It's
No, they're
Tetraminos.
Tetraminos. What's wrong with you?
that's
people?
annoying.
Awaken the windfish to
That's not how it's
Tetramino is such a
pronounced.
cooler name.
Yeah.
Hey, it's the
it's
game
not.
I already played with better graphics this last year.
Gargoyle's quest.
Yeah.
Now you can play with poopy graphics.
From the Ghosts and Goblins
I just like
I
that
like how the-
motorcycle game.
Game and Watch
That's the one I
Oh.
played the most.
An assortment of Game and Watch titles.
Play a. Would you like another port of what was previously a port
Game
collection?
and Watch? What? Oh, this looks good though. What is this?
On the supernatural Shadow Island.
Ew! Just play the original in the dark.
Destroy the Metroids hiding
Oh, that was Alone in the Dark? That looked cool.
That was the original Alone in the Dark, but ported to Game Boy, which seems unideal.
traverse a world that
Wouldn't you just play the
Oh, I
original
see.
one
based on your
instead of crunching it onto a Game Boy screen in 2D?
Kirby's Dream Land. Float in
I do love the music of Kirby.
Kirby's debut title.
Kirby has great music. Even the new Kirby had some fucking banging
Use
beats.
the Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, or Game Boy Color screen filters.
Wow.
Two players can play compatible games.
To play the exact same
It
game.
can look good, or like you're sick.
More games will be added in the future.
The Game Boy Pocket
Yes.
is pretty good.
I want Pokemon trading card game. I'm super stoked about that.
Both Oracle's games.
I have both.
Wait,
Oracles.
they're-
I'm sure I'll cover
They're adding
those at
Game
some
Boy
point.
Advance as
So
well?
just make my job easier, please.
Game Boy Advance games.
Oh, the game I'm currently Let's Playing. Cool. I'm glad it's
Yeah.
immediately obsolete.
Play the games that you can play at launch.
No, it's not obsolete. Now you're gonna get more
Oh, it's not.
views.
Oh, it's not a
Interactively.
remake. It's just a port. Okay.
No. Yeah, it's just the Game Boy Advance. Yeah.
From the Nintendo e-reader accessory.
I thought it was gonna be like
Tanuki
fucking Skyward
Mario.
Sword, where my thing's immediately obsolete because there's a fucking newer version the moment I'm playing it.
Games.
Wait, there's a game that you have to put an umbrella over a cat?
Yeah.
Yeah, WarioWare. WarioWare games are like insane.
Oh, WarioWare game. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
WarioWares
This
are
game's
all.
fucking a nightmare.
Circuit. Race in the first Mario
Yeah.
Oh, the first proper Mario Kart.
system. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga.
Oh, Luigi's Tales.
One of Andrew's original solo Let's Plays.
Yeah.
This one? Or
Tried-
Mario? Or
Tried playing
Mario.
a Mario
Mario
and Luigi
Luigi.
game.
To miniature size and dive into a big adventure.
It's the game I am currently
Mobile
playing.
and online play is supported for compatible games.
and it is good.
4 players can play together.
Minish Cap is
Apart
neat.
from the
Just
whole
so-
economics
More games
of the
will be
game.
added to the library as well.
Metroid.
Imagine.
Completely pointless
The,
money.
the good Fire Emblem. Look at it. Look at over there.
You can play Golden Sun.
Remember when it was about fighting?
Switch online membership. Or play both Game
Oh, it's
Boy
not free. Of course it isn't.
Nintendo Switch.
No, they're
The
they're-
Game Boy is, but not the Game Boy Advance. Game Boy Advance is like the N64. It's hidden behind the what is it? The
Aren't
all of them-
$12 a
Aren't
month?
all of them in the past?
Playable
No.
Nintendo Switch.
only half of them.
After today's Nintendo Direct, you'll be able to
Well, no, even the other ones are in like.
Game Boy Advance titles we
Yeah.
introduced.
Yeah, you always have to have online for it. But
Yeah, I was gonna
there's
say,
two
like,
different tiers of
Yeah,
online.
they're
So-
both. Yeah, you pay for both of them. There's just there's the
Yeah.
old one, and then there's the premium subscription they added more recently. And the premium
Yes.
one is where Nintendo 64 is, and I guess that's where they're adding Game Boy.
Yep. And it's
Yeah,
also I think Genesis is also on there too. I think Genesis is in the
Metroid Prime
premium.
games remastered.
Oh, look, another one of my playthroughs is relevant now.
The original Metroid Prime. Did you play the original?
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the original, I mean I played it on. I played
The Wii
from
U.
the,
Wii,
I
whatever.
played the Wii port
The Wii.
on Wii U
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
of the GameCube game, and then everyone was like, "You should have played the GameCube game," and I'm like, one of the things that's broken me on the idea of trying to play games on official hardware via legitimate purchases, because it's such a fucking rigmarole to get anything to work and to play. Like I just fucking emulate the GameCube. Fuck it.
Oh,
Like-
the best part of the game. Did you see there? The ball in the wall?
yeah, a certain highlight of somebody being stuck in that room for half an hour because something would go catastrophically wrong at some point at the end of the 10-minute straight platforming section on walls.
Yeah, best
At
part.
one point, I dropped from the ceiling and I landed perfectly on the rubble at the end of the room that you're supposed to bomb, and it just fucking knocked me off the platform, and I had to start the whole level over.
First Metroid Prime
Nice.
Mhm.
Fuck that room.
the Nintendo GameCube system has been remastered for Nintendo Switch. Explore Talon 4.
Does it have
Wait a
motion
minute.
controls
So
or
far
normal
we've been
controls?
watching.
The-
I mean, this is
normal
very
controls.
Nintendo.
No more.
But so
not
far we've
motion.
just been watching existing IPs There's
These are
either
mostly
a remake.
These are almost entirely remakes and sequels. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except Fashion Game.
Oh right, that's the new exciting things for Nintendo.
What about Samba?
Oh, the Samba as well. Yeah, the Friends Samba.
It's a little tempting to
beams.
go back and replay the first one, even though I haven't played the sequels yet, just because the fucking motion controls were such a burden on the experience. Everyone's like, oh, it's the best Metroid's ever played. Their motion controls are incredible. I'm like, cool, I'd love to have that experience. People keep saying that about Skyward Sword and Metroid, and I've never had that experience with them.
Motion controls have never been good and never will be good. People who
The
say
only
that
time,
are people who like
the
hurt
only
themselves
improvement I've
enough
seen
to-
was Skyward Sword having pretty good swimming because of motion controls.
The physical version of the game will be available in stores February 22nd.
They still sell physical versions of games. Good for them.
Yes. Otherwise, GameStop would have gone out of business like a long
Bless
time
their,
ago.
bless their. No, GameStop doesn't go out of business because memes.
No, GameStop is gonna go out of business
I mean,
because
yeah,
of
but
memes.
because memes.
Yeah, because that's inflated values, and now that company is like not as valuable as it actually appears to be. Like they still aren't making money. Like they're still losing money in the stores.
Spike Chunsoft.
Yeah, I was gonna say you want to talk about what a style
you-
that's obvious. Spike
It's on his
Chunsoft
face.
character design is so fucking obvious.
Oh my god, he's activating a stand.
That wasn't a stand. It was a radar.
Detect heartbeats and whispers
Are you ready for a very contrived twist at the end?
and witness past
Or multiple contrived twists at the end.
These abilities can be shared with Yuma,
So this is post-cognition.
so use them to
Oh
get
my
closer
god, I
to
hate that.
solving a case.
You don't like post-cognition?
Evidence, a
That's
I
what
hate
happens after
the-
you
like,
learn
I hate the
something.
dialogue already. The dialogue sounds so awful.
At least it doesn't have typos.
mysteries.
It sounds like a guy.
What?
I guess, sure.
What a thing to say.
I mean, it's
Also,
high-
I bet
hard
it
to
does
clear.
have. I bet it
I
does.
bet it
have
does. That's
typos.
true, but
Don't
not in the
worry.
trailer, which is
Just every Spike Chunsoft game ends with a twist that's where I'm supposed to be like, oh, wow, and it's like the opposite reaction of what I actually have every time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what the fuck?
After a long and peaceful
God damn it!
islands above
What
Earth,
is this?
the Empire's conspiracy
RPG.
From 2005?
the protagonist
Yeah.
Is it a remake again?
Is this another remake?
Yeah.
different eras of war.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look, the Nintendo Switch doesn't have that good of hardware. All right, it's trying.
It's fine. You can have. It's okay.
No, it is.
They
less-
have announced
it's less
wi-
powerful than like.
They have announced Outer Wilds for the Switch for so long.
it can
and
run
still haven't.
Overwatch with like some frames.
Yeah, and they've announced Outer Wilds and still haven't released it for years now.
In these real-time battles, you'll need to make split-second decisions to edge closer to victory. What revelations will come to light in the skies above?
Oh,
Oh, the phrasing.
lands below?
you know, like edging closer to
Kaido's 1 and 2
victory.
That's hard to read.
Swords onto Nintendo Switch this summer.
Edging closer to victory sounds like that makes it sound like the fights are agonizingly slow.
Your new fantasy
Yeah.
That's not an exciting thing to to talk about
there
your
we
real-time
go.
combat.
I hope this isn't another RPG.
I think
The girl
It's
who
not an
steals
RPG, but it has
time
RPG
with her
elements.
long-ass stories.
by stealing time, just wasting it.
Yeah, she's a time vampire. Her goal is to outlive everyone on this island, especially those children.
Wait, what? So
What
she's
does
Animal
past and
Crossing?
present mean?
Dragon Quest Builders.
Yeah, this is just Animal Crossing with time travel. What the fuck? Come on, guys. Wait, no, it's got RPG.
This looks like it started as a me game.
Hmm.
MII.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah.
Look how fucking huge their heads are.
They can't even keep them up. So they like roll wobbling from side to side.
They're just gonna
So,
topple
what?
over. They're
Yeah.
more top heavy than Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah.
I'm sure this is someone's thing. I fucking hate the
I
art
like-
style, so I'm
I like
immediately
the
out.
usage of-
I will not look
I like
at
the
it
usage-
again. Foreign.
Foreign?
Every now and then the subtitle
Oh.
just says foreign.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's
Oh,
Mr.
it's another one of the
Layton.
things.
I thought this company went bankrupt.
Probably did.
New World of Steam.
Professor?
Is this why Brian suddenly asked if I would play Professor Layton on the Overwatch stream?
Probably.
Then never brought it up again when I.
This is the only good thing
Oh.
that is like really exciting about the direct. Look at all of these fucking maps. Hell
Oh.
yeah, dude. Let's go.
Wow, we're still.
Oh, this
we're,
is more.
We're still building expansions to a Wii U racing game.
I mean, it's good.
It's so
I wish
good.
Trackmania
The
would
first-
do it like that.
The first expansion pass was fantastic. All the levels were amazing. And Birdo's in it now.
Birdo. I didn't
Yeah.
realize she wasn't in it.
Yeah, she wasn't, but now she is. It's so like all the maps for the DLC pass have been just killing her, like killing it. It's been great. They're fantastic. The music is also just so good.
It always was, though. To be fair.
Yeah.
I get obliterated whenever I play this game because it's always with somebody.
Everybody
Who,
does.
it's always with somebody who
what's-
owns it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would do it as well. Yeah. There is skill, despite. You know.
Oh yeah, I noticed because the people who own the game are like, "Hey, play this game with me." Fucking delete me. Oh, these
That's
aren't
like
the same
fighting
game.
games.
Okay. Ew.
No, this is the indie showcase. Yeah.
Mega Man
Not
Battle
indie
Network.
Showcase, but like here's a bunch of shit and deal with
It's
it.
Minecraft, but
I've never
weird.
played Mega Man Battle Network, but I played the indie game that's a spiritual successor to it, and it like broke my brain.
I like this.
It was so
I like
much.
this a lot.
It's so overwhelming. Trying to figure out how
Oh,
that
it's-
combat
this
works.
This is really good.
Would you like some pencil shading, like in that one Norse horror game?
Do you want
Yeah.
every Mega
What
Man
the
game in one
fuck?
collection?
How many Mega Man Battle Networks were there? That looked like there was like 12. I thought
think
there was like
I think there's
2.
about like no, there's like 10 or 15 of them.
What the hell? Oh my god.
Yeah, do you not play? You don't play the Battle Network games?
No, I just explained that. I literally just explained in detail
They're the
my
same.
history
They're
with
the
this
same game every
franchise.
time. Come on, Keith.
I
Just play
hate
one.
this
You
art
played them all.
style. I hate it so much.
Was that Hulk Hogan?
Is this the one where you get scared by Goofy and he chases you down?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
What is this?
Why does it sound like we're playing Electro Swing? Like we're playing. It sounds like music by that one band.
Hmm.
You know the Flat Earther song? That's like the sequel to Lone Digger.
No.
Thank you for staying.
I'll show you later.
Okay.
Will be our last.
Anyone go listen to that song and they'll be like, oh fuck, it's the same. Oh here, they'll be like, oh there's it's the same background music. They used it for a Nintendo Direct. This video is taken down for copyright.
Here we go. Finally.
I mean, we're gonna have challenges with a copyright thing already.
This game's actually coming out soon.
It's
What is
coming out
this?
in like a few months.
What is this? Skyrim? Fallout?
No, this is the new.
I really hope that
new
I just want the
and-
game to have dungeons, and then those dungeon items affect world traversal in interesting ways to make the world more fun.
Oh, it's the new
Oh.
Zelda.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Keith. You're not getting that at all. You're getting.
This is Elden Ring,
Getting-
but Zelda.
You're getting the tablet again, but now it's built into your arm. So, you know, I hope
I mean
you really
that
like the old
that could
mechanics.
just be in addition. That doesn't tell us what's in the game.
No. Just wait.
Oh. Someone's about to get acquainted with tentacles.
Hmm.
Good, Minecraft's in the game.
But Link, I am not sure you'll be able to stop him.
Ah! Like,
It's so high.
that's very high.
Just a bunch of floating stuff now. Just a series of looming things in the sky, and you're like, how the fuck did they get up there? Hey, Rivali.
They changed his eyes, didn't they?
You can drive a car. You can make cars again, like Banjo Kazooie. It's like nuts and bolts, but better.
I look forward to seeing the disgusting speedrun shit that comes out of this.
Oh,
Tears of the Kingdom.
What kind of bizarre nightmares are going to happen when people get to play with these kinds of mechanics?
Lend him your power.
Tears of the Kingdom is a title, isn't it?
yeah.
It's not as catchy as Breath of the Wild.
Tatka?
It's not.
Maybe. I don't know.
That was the Legend of Zelda.
It's almost out. It's coming out in the nearest future. Look, you can buy a toy.
It's not a toy. It's a figurine.
Look at his glove. He's sticking out his glove.
It's a collectible.
It's a collectible toy.
It's not a. It's Mom.
Mom!
It does look good though.
Damn. Just yelling.
All right, switching
Yeah, I mean, it
channels
looks-
to streamer
I'm excited.
review.
I'm excited to see what it turns out to be. I think it. I mean, I don't know. I like the previous one. So if it's just a less or a more robust version of that, I'll be happy.
I'm slightly terrified
do
of how
like
long
the-
it's gonna be.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. I'm also fine with. I like the idea of building vehicles because I'm going to build the most obnoxious shit ever. I promise you. I did it in nuts and bolts. I had like awful contraptions, like just cars that would bump into shit and knock it over completely. Just nightmare creatures. I love it.
Not creatures, creations.
I am hesitant about the idea that it's in the same map. There is like this feeling of like about the fact that it is. There are new additions, obviously, because there's floating islands now. We're going to Skyward Sword Land, but the
Yeah, it makes me
don't
wonder
know,
how much
the-
they'll like subvert your expectations by having like the locations change unexpectedly. Like
yeah.
because you can kind of do like an Ocarina of Time, like Passage of Time, like if everything's fucked up version of the thing. But
Well, it does
also
look
could
like
just be
nothing
boring.
is- yeah.
And like you could also just be like, oh well, same as last time. I'm not gonna explore it.
Yeah, in an open world game,
yeah.
that is dangerous to do. Not that they wouldn't.
That's why I'm curious because like the fact that it is like a direct sequel to a game, on the same hardware. So like it can't be too crazy, right? Like I feel like Breath of the Wild was
It has
pretty
been
pushing
so
the
long
limits.
though.
It has been, but I
It's
don't
been
know. Like
6
it felt
years,
like
5
Yeah.
years.
but the Switch hasn't changed. It's not like the Switch got better.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
no, you
just
gotta-
saying,
you
I'm just
gotta
saying that
know
they
it-
can change a lot. I'm not saying it has to be like advanced.
The
No,
Switch got an
But
OLED
the,
screen.
For me, it's just surreal to watch this game coming out 6 years later because, like, when I played the original game, it took like, including the DLCs and what it was like something like 160 episodes or some shit like that, and like it was just a huge undertaking. But then my fucking audience latched on so hard that like Patreon over the course of the following years just went through every single 3D Zelda game and then eventually even a few of the 2D ones. And so now I've played like, I don't know, like 8 Zeldas or something, when back then that was my first Zelda. And so it's like this, I'm literally playing Minish Cap right now. And like, so like the idea of like 6 years later, it's like, here comes a fucking new Zelda game finally, the sequel to that previous one. It's just like, it's intimidating. It's just strange. I'm also going to go in with a different like context because like at the time I was like, this game's incredible, but I was thinking about it almost entirely of how it's like a really cool open world game when I was very sick of open world games, and I'm like, wow, this game's actually making me like an open world, and I'm like exploring on purpose and enjoying the act of discovery, and that like never happens because open world games are like anti-discovery. They hate the concept of exploring. They're just checklists and chores and making a
Not all of
percentage go
them.
up.
If they're
pretty much all of
mechanically
them.
driven,
They pretty much-
they can be interesting.
Yeah.
You know, like the
Like
theoretically,
Pathologic
like
2.
the exploration. Also that. Well, Pathologic 2 does have storytelling, so there's an incentive behind.
I mean,
the
all
exploration.
open world games normally have storytelling, but like Pathologic 2 is a mechanically driven thing, like because the Pathologic franchise, I swear, probably inspired Dead Rising, Like it's that similar concept. Like here's an open environment, and you have a bunch of tasks that are ticking down and come and go, and the world just has a schedule, and and it's up to you to keep up with that or not, and so on. And that's like having a time pressure is an interesting thing to put on an open world.
What I was thinking is like things like 7 Days to Die or Minecraft, even in terms of mechanically driven open world.
Sure,
because I think like a Zelda,
those are like usually like procedurally generated multiplayer survival games.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have to be. You could have like a fixed level.
Yeah, but that's not usually what people mean when they say open world. They're talking about Horizon Zero Dawn and Ghost of Tsushima. Those are all just like, wow, look at these heavily curated Grand Theft Auto 3 mission hubs. Like, they've never gotten more advanced than Grand Theft Auto 3, which is just that the map populates with icons to go to, and then you do a linear mission that takes place in that open world, but doesn't let you meaningfully interact with it usually. And it's just like a series of just tasks. And like the hidden, and all of the rest of the genre has just been like an elaboration on the hidden suitcases that there were like 100 of in Grand Theft Auto 3. Like, it's just a series of collectibles, and like, people like that, huh? And like, and it just becomes this task of just trying to complete all the goals. But then like, the open world is so irrelevant to the actual act of doing any of those tasks, so that it's just like a buffer. It's just a thing you run across to get to all those things, and you mash the pick things up button to collect a nonsensical melange of some kind of crafting materials that you don't even like understand the usage of while you're collecting them, but you're like, oh, they're just here, and I'm just going to spam the pick them up button while I go, and then, I don't know, once every half an hour I'm going to open my crafting menu and see what's there, I guess. But because like the act of constantly picking stuff up just makes you feel like you're doing something. It's like the genre is so like, it's so masturbatorily after the idea of just making you feel like you're always making some kind of progress that like there's almost no like introspective exploration or like curiosity. There's no setup and payoff of like, wonder what that is, maybe I'll be rewarded for investigating it. Like if you go check out a weird thing on the horizon in most of these open world games that isn't one of the like signposted mechanics that have been established as being the 4 things you're supposed to care about, you pretty much just get up to it and you're like, I can now see this art asset closer. And that's about it. Whereas like Zelda, like fucking Breath of the Wild, be like, there's an ancient legend about the 4 statues and like they just have completely like open-ended nonsense things that you just find out about in a town somewhere, and you'd go on an adventure and you just see like, wait, hang on, there's actually like shit going on here, and you'd follow a trail to that actually like lead somewhere, and it'd be like a thing that was completely optional and was not advertised as being like, here's one of your 75 tasks you must complete, and then it was just cool.
Yeah, but that's because it's very influenced as well by things like, well, it's not necessarily influenced directly by Skyrim, but by games like Skyrim and games like what Skyrim comes from. Because JRPGs are that like things like Might and Magic and Wizardry have a lot of influence over that. So the RPG side quest design that you see in Breath of the Wild, and not just in Breath of the Wild, honestly, in most Zelda games, it's like it's the reason why it is like technically it is it's not technically an RPG, but in the sense of if you are going to be fair, Zelda are just RPGs because of the sort of design principle of side quests and optional side quests. It's not, obviously it isn't a game where you have choice and consequence and all that, but there's a lot of RPGs that also don't have that. I think what you said though that is really important is the fault that open world games have is just signposting quests and then making quests in the open world that don't interact with the open world. That is a challenge to make quests that interact with the open world, and I think Pathologic really, like, it doesn't necessarily pull it off flawlessly, but it does do that. It's in the sense that you hear about a bull, or like, is it I don't know whose campaign it is, but it's like you start the game and there's somebody saying, oh, they're burning this woman at a stake or somewhere, or they're hunting down like this kid or whatever, and you're not really given directions. You're just like, okay, I have information about the game world, but I don't know what to do with it. So you can choose to pursue that, but at the sacrifice of other things that may be a little bit more signposted, and the game rewards you for.
Artemis
for
campaign
going.
starts with the doghead kid that's being hunted by the local gang of kids.
Yeah,
and Daniel's campaign starts with the discussion of the Shabnakar deer and how they're just hunting down women and blaming them for the plague.
Mm-hmm.
I know some Pathologic sometimes.
You're still streaming, by the way.
Still stream. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know any Pathologic or any RPGs or
It's a difficult game to recommend, honestly.
I would never
But
play it, so don't
it's
bother.
but it's also not a difficult game to play in the sense like you may not win. Like I played Pathologic 2 and I didn't succeed. And I haven't finished it in a way that succeeded either. I tried it again, but I couldn't finish it. It's a difficult so those are difficult games, but it's it's a game that is understandable. It's not like trying to recommend Crusader Kings 3 or actually maybe Europa Universalis 4 or something like that, where it's just like, oh, play this game, it's really good, and then you start and it's like, I don't even know how to control anything because you need to watch like a 12-hour walkthrough or whatever, because those are difficult games to play. Pathologic is really simple. You walk around, you have an inventory, and you just learn and fail.
Part of
And
why
suffer.
it's able to interact with the open world is just the simple fact that it's not. I don't think it's necessarily an immersive sim, but it has actual mechanics that tie the protagonist to the world. And that's that feels obvious and 101 until you realize that almost no AAA games can be asked to do anything like that. Like the vast majority of modern games, you just kind of are a character who just absorbs experience and skill points and exerts violence on the enemies upon via some kind of renewable resource, and they don't really have to worry about the environment around them in any reasonable way, and so you can play any of the content in any order at your own pace and so on, and you just kind of sleepwalk through the game. Like you don't have to worry about stuff. Whereas Pathologic is a full-length open-world campaign that still runs like Resident Evil 1, where you have a limited inventory and things that you can find and secrets and things to open up and things that require certain conditions to be met, but then it's adding in on top of that this time pressure, so you have narrative things that are going to happen in X windows, and so you need to figure out how to traverse the map. And since there is a time pressure, now the map is a meaningful obstacle and thing that you need to learn how to use. So it's not just the novelty of it's not just the pure novelty of Morrowind and being like, aha, these Silk Strider bus routes are how I get through the public transport of this open world that has no time pressures, and if I want to, I can just walk there and it'd be the same consequences. It's and that stuff's novel in its own way, having to learn how to explore Morrowind, but in Pathologic, you have to learn how to explore it with consequences, because not only are you trying to get somewhere under a time limit, and so just the simple pathing of how to do that most effectively is a concern, but the game keeps throwing more and more twists in your way of different hazards that will get in your way, or patrolling NPCs of various factions and level, and some of them are some of them are guards, some of them are just random people, some of them are random people that would be attacking you because your reputation's so low that you're wanted, or some of them are thugs that are trying to rob you, or they're sick people that are reaching out for help, but being anywhere near them will be incredibly catastrophically dangerous for you in a way with long ramifications. If you get sick, that can affect your entire campaign. And then as things get worse, there's sickness clouds and plague rats, and you literally will be go through the map, have a specific path in mind, you have a time pressure to get there, and then as you are crossing a bridge, you see how completely fucked the next region is. That was the place you're trying to go through on your path, and you pause the game and look at your map, and you're just genuinely considering do I go all the way around which has a massive opportunity cost for the rest of my day and how much I'm going to be accomplishing today, and who knows what's going to happen when I go that way? Or do I try to push forward through this hellscape that I just discovered in front of me, save a lot of time, and maybe completely fuck myself? Like, there's interesting choices being made, and the world matters to the gameplay. And while you're doing this, like, there's all these granular systems about how like it's the only game I've ever played where I had a favorite trash can. Because you start memorizing where all the trash cans are.
Oh,
Because all the fucking trash cans have like these ones might have empty bottles in them that I can use to trade for. I can fill these with water at the various wells along my route, and then I can trade that water for resources, because this is like, you can like become a tiny little piece of this like bartering economy. And like every single, like, the NPCs are only a certain number of character models that repeat over and over again, and at first it almost seems like a downside, but then you realize every individual repeating character model is a consistent type of NPC that wants certain things in bartering. So then it's like all the randomly spawning like Grand Theft Auto like crowd people that you're seeing are themselves an interesting mechanic. Like, all of them have predispositions, unique dialogue about the environment that changes every year, or every day. Or two.
Yeah,
and so there's an updating story with each unique character model, but they also like have unique things to trade that will affect the entire playthrough. So you're learning so even the fucking crowds, the most inconsequential part of every open world, like, city-based game, is itself an in-depth mechanic. It's like the coolest game ever made.
It is very good.
It's so hard to play that and be like, let's play Horizon Zero Dawn, where Ashley Birch looks stone-faced at some people, and it's like, aha, I am stoic and a good person. I will help this village with dinosaurs.
Stone-faced is characterization.
Oh no, this village has dinosaur problem and or rival village problem. I will help them and maybe be a little morally iffy about it. I'm like, oh, is this the right call? I am the chosen one.
That's not morally iffy. That's just undecided. You're selling it short though. Like, you're making a choice based on how to get to your objectives. But I think, and in the first game as well, but especially Pathologic 2, you're not even sure what your objectives are. You don't know how to succeed at certain things. It's not clear.
You're making a gamble at where you think you need to go to solve the problem.
You need to go, yeah. And going there,
and there's also a choice. There's also often a branching choice within the quest, which is not necessarily a dialogue choice, but an emergent gameplay thing that you can do that is built into the decision that you can just decide. Like when you're told to carry a bunch of valuable resources of any kind to another place to help with the place, you can always be like, actually, fuck them, got mine. And you can just walk away with the stuff. And you can just keep it.
And the game acknowledges it and reacts to that properly. It's not like,
and it doesn't even have the
consequence.
It doesn't even have the clean, like, morality of, like, if you do the good thing, it's always a good outcome. If you do the bad thing, it's always a bad outcome.
No, not at all. Yeah.
On a regular basis, you can completely fuck people over, and
by doing the thing that they want,
and it just benefits you. And if you helped them, they would have failed anyway. In many cases,
yeah.
Like, it's just such an interesting game. And like, Horizon Zero Dawn has no decisions. And I don't even like narrative decisions. There probably are narrative decisions that I've just forgotten because of how boring the fucking everything was.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, there's no, like, you're not making interesting calls the way that you do in like Resident Evil or Pathologic. Like, there's no strategizing and thinking. Like, at most it's like, do I use the elemental weakness arrow or do I do a melee attack on the dragon or something? It's like, there's at best slight combat variations of and even that just amounts to like whether or not you know how to play optimally or if you don't get what you're supposed to do. And that's the extent of the depth to the game, because the story is just watching the story play out as slowly as possible via stone-faced, monotone, bad voice acting. Because there are good voice actors in that game. Like, they have not Lance Hendricks, what's his name? I think Lance Hendricks is the droid from Alien. I'm thinking of the guy from Fringe and Quantum Break. I think his name is Lance though. But they got that guy. And Ashley Birch is a good voice actor. Like, she's been good in other stuff. They just there's just like that game was like, well, we have 1 billion voice lines to read, so just kind of adopt a tone of voice that will most consistently lead to you not fucking it up. And then they just kind of like, that's good
Yeah.
enough. You read the
That
lines
sucks.
correctly, and we're not going to worry about acting and emoting. It's so hard to attach to anything that's happening in that game. It's like I can't believe anyone ever wanted me to play the sequels. I'm like, how do you want this to continue? What's the point?
There's one thing that modern AAA Horizon Zero Dawn kind games do better than Pathologic, though. And I think, well, actually, I don't know why Pathologic doesn't do it. So Pathologic has an interesting character system where basically your character is a person that is independent from you as a player in a very, adventure style kind of way, adventure game kind of way, I should say. So what ends up happening is that you see in dialogue, your options are not like, you usually have 2 or 3 options for every single line of dialogue. But your options are not like, no, you're bad. Oh, I love you. It's not that kind of option. It's usually things like, oh, but why are you doing this? And the other option is, you're terrible. And it's just like, if you want to be friends with that person, you just cannot, because your character is not friends with that person. So while you do have agency over how the story progresses, although not necessarily through the dialogue all the time, and also specifically you have agency over the dialogue you get from the characters because of your options in the dialogue. What happens is, in the dialogue, the players get the sense of how your character is. Like, I mean, that was something that struck me very early on playing the first Pathologic with the Artemi. No, it's Daniel Dankovsky, with the doctor or whatever it's called. You start the game and it's just like this uppity kind of person who has very important things back home, and he's just like, I'm just here to try to finish my thesis on this magical, kind of semi-magical scientific theory or whatever. And you start the game off and it's like, wait a minute, this guy is just, his dialogue is, I can't be a normal person. I need to be Daniel Dankovsky. But and this is my point, and what happens is, when you're not in dialogue, you're detached from your character from a narrative sense a lot of the time, unless you're like reading the journal, because you should read the journal once every day. I think it's once every day, but basically you read the journal and it's your character's thoughts, but it's just like 3 or 4 paragraphs. It's not really that much. And so the moment to moment gameplay is just player driven, and the reactions are player driven. So I think Pathologic would be even better than it is if your character said stuff as you're like going around. If not just maybe saying stuff might be a little bit too on the nose or weird, but like having at least some connection with your character. And I think that's something that happens a lot with modern AAA games, is your character emotes and has dialogue lines during combat, and just sees stuff and goes, "Oh, this is so sad," especially in Horizon Zero Dawn. There's multiple. So I think Horizon Zero Dawn in particular does that a lot of the time. The main character specifically says how the player should feel, and this is, in sad moments, she goes, "This is sad," or when it's so blatant though. It's like
detecting
I was
sadness.
Yeah, I was really tilted by that during
Boo-hoo.
the game does that so much. But like for its for as bad as it is, it's still effective in connecting you to your character. It's just that the character from Horizon Zero Dawn isn't a very sophisticated character, which is fine, I suppose. But Pathologic, all the characters are sophisticated, or at least sophisticatedly written. Actually, no, not all the characters are sophisticated. I'm sorry. The plebs, what are they called? Like the civilians, the random
plebs.
NPCs that just go, the ones, the citizens. They have a name.
Wow.
I think they gave it them. They're not very deep characters. They're just there to do exposition based on what's going on in the city, which you'd think is fine. But recently, I finished Pentiment, which I recommend you all play. Everybody should play Pentiment. It's incredible.
That's the game by Obsidian.
Yeah. It's just amazing. It's beautiful. It has an amazing soundtrack. It's so well written. It's just incredible game. But what the game does in a very, like, you can tell it's deliberate, and it's it does it very well as well, is all the characters, no matter how small they are in the grand storyline, or how irrelevant they are to your main character. In a sense, I say irrelevant as in you don't interact with them too much. Every one of them is written in a way that you can tell that they're a greater character besides what they're there to tell you. Things like, for example, and you can feel this particularly like halfway through the game, where you set up the expectations a little bit more, and it's just like you understand the village a little bit better, and then you start to interact with new characters, and you can tell that this is just a whole new person, and you're just interacting with the fraction of their livelihood, and that's incredible. So what Pentiment does, for example, something really cool is there's one or two characters that are more, you talk to them a little bit more. And one in particular, she's an old woman, and she's written like an old person, like realistically like an old person, not like a comic relief kind of old person. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Though it's like when you talk to an older person, like
listen here, Sonny.
Like you get the wisdom, you get the experience, you get the apathy, or maybe the excitement, for depending on the person, right? And then they're written like. It's just incredible. I think Pentiment does that on purpose, though. It's not utilitarian storytelling. It's like, we have this whole character that we're never going to show you because it doesn't matter. This character is just here to tell you about whether the waters broke the wall or whatever, or if the baker's is out of money or whatever the case may be. But you get the impression that they're bigger characters, which is, Pentiment is incredible. Not an open world game though, so that's an aside.
Right, we were discussing something. Whoops.
Yeah. Sorry, to bring it back. Open world games.
There's so many video games. So hard to keep up. Because I want to play Pentiment, but I also want to play Hi-Fi Rush and not Solaris. What's it called?
Solaris is a strategy game.
What's the...
I think. Yeah.
What's the survival... Signalis. There we go. Mm-hmm. That's the very hyped up at the moment survival horror game where like Toaster played that and immediately was like, I'm going to try to write a video essay about this. Which happens a lot. Doesn't mean anything comes out of it, but like... It's always a good sign when you finish something, you're just like, I just want to I need to discuss this. That's more interesting than like Ghost of Tsushima. It's an open world that has good leaves. That's its selling point, is the nice leaves and how much Westerners like samurai, but not real samurai. The mythological concept of samurai that is basically
the
propaganda.
Movie concept.
My favorite one.
Yeah, the like patriotic, self-induced, like propaganda version of samurai. There's a better word in there somewhere that I couldn't think of.
What? Okay.
Yeah. Like it wasn't. So Ghost of Tsushima like made to mimic I forget the name of the famous Japanese director that made the Seven Samurai and other movies. Is it Seven Samurai? I think it is. Steam is having a throwing a fit. Seven Samurai. Or is it Samurai?
Akira Kurosawa.
Akira Kurosawa. Yeah, that's the one.
I was like, I almost proudly yelled out my answer, and then I was like, hang on a minute, you're wrong. I was about to yell like Akira Toriyama. I'm like, hang on a minute.
Oh, that was the answer.
Yeah, famous known Japanese samurai director Akira Toriyama.
It's a lot of the name is the same.
That sounds not okay.
The personal name is the same. So Kurosawa.
It has this. I mean, the last name ends on the same syllable, or on the same like vowel, and it has the same like syllable cadence. Like it's. I bet
the kanji is all different. I bet
it's slot right
different.
in.
But it's totally nothing like alike.
Sure.
Oh, actually, that reminds me. the thing that tilted me. You played Ghost of Tsushima in Japanese dialogue, right?
Yeah,
Or did
everyone
you
yelled
not?
at me.
Yeah. So what tilted me is that the actors, like the physical mocap actors, were not Japanese, and they just dubbed Japanese lines on their, and limp synced the Japanese lines on their models. So the body language is not Japanese at all, and this is like it's these American people speaking Japanese, and it tilted me so much because you have like if you watch enough Japanese fiction, or I say fiction, but if you watch enough Japanese stuff, you start to see and understand their body language, which is significantly different than Western body language, and so the acting is all wrong. It just tilted me so much for some reason. I don't know. I didn't like it. I mean, should they have mocapped Japanese actors? They should have.
I don't know.
No.
Most
No?
of the game didn't
No,
really
they should have
give me
saved the
much of
money
an
and made a
authentic
good
feeling.
fucking game.
Like the whole game felt very superficial to me.
Oh yeah. But that's Ubisoft. All of their game is superficial. All of them.
Wait, Ubisoft made Ghost of Tsushima?
No.
They published it, I guess?
No, it
Wait,
was Sucker
is it not a
Punch.
Ubisoft game?
No, it's not a Ubisoft
It's
game.
the
Oh.
creators of Infamous
Yeah.
and I think Sly Cooper originally.
Oh, I was wrong.
Yeah, no, that was a Sucker Punch game. That was I think wasn't that a Sony exclusive?
Hmm.
It just feels like a Ubisoft game, but actually Ubisoft games
Yeah.
are much more boring. Like they're even less inspired.
Even
That game
less,
at least
yeah.
that game had art direction. Like it had some kind of creative vision to it. Ubisoft games are much more disappointing.
Yeah, they made Sly Cooper and Infamous 2, and they have been acquired by Sony. Sorry.
I think every game they've made since Sly Cooper has been exclusive to PlayStation consoles. They made all the
Mhm.
Infamous games and so on.
Yeah.
Games that I've never played because PC.
They are
Infamous
okay.
is okay, yeah. I don't know how else to
Prototype
describe
is
Infamous.
better.
Wait, they made Prototype, as well?
No, Prototype just came out around the
Prototype
same
is just-
time and was just
yeah.
significantly better than Infamous.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
They were both open world, sort of traversally oriented power games, but I don't know. Prototype was more in the spirit of like the Hulk games that they used to make, and
Those were good.
Infamous is it was a bit more in line with the more modern, more cinematic-y kind of games with more like not good camera but better looking camera that PlayStation games love to have. Like, haha, this camera's kind of counterproductive to actual gameplay, but boy does it sell the game, so we're gonna just hamper the whole game with this kind of shitty third-person camera every time.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And Infamous was like, oh, you can grind on power lines. Look at this cool mobility. And Prototype was like, you can run up walls. Fuck you.
And punch tanks into the sky or into bigger tanks. It's incredible. Apparently, they're making a movie of Ghost of Tsushima.
That's redundant.
That is weird, isn't it?
Like I know I'm saying that while I'm enjoying the Last of Us show, but like Ghost of Tsushima just felt like it was just like itself so inspired by cinema, while also like not having. I don't think it had anything to add for the most part. Like I know it has I know it has like a particular like lowest point mode near the end of the game that like is impactful emotionally and stuff, but like most of the game was like incredibly telegraphed and obvious, and not I was completely unengaged in the story because of how I felt like I was just watching a very, very obvious narrative play out very slowly, and none of the characters were especially compelling along the way.
Yeah, I don't remember any characters.
I would take a fucking adaptation of Sekiro over Ghost of Tsushima. Because that game was more interesting, significantly more interesting narratively,
and probably would tell the story in a better way than Ghost of Sekiro.
You don't have to do that. You know, it's perfectly reasonable to just leave a thing in its own medium.
But can you imagine?
Leave it
can
alone.
Can you imagine the
fucking
monkey The monkey
I can
throwing
imagine how
books
bad
at
it
you.
would be. Yeah, it would be awful. I would love to
wouldn't,
see a fucking
'cause you wouldn't
CGI or like samurai ninja guy fly around with a CGI enemy that it's fighting. Like, leave it alone. Don't. There's like you can do stuff like Last of Us because it literally is a brain dead nothing game. Like it's just two people walking around in a regular world. There's nothing
That's fair.
phantasmical about it. It's just a generic ass shit. But like you can't. There's like Resident Evil pushes the line because it's like, okay, now we have to have like, you know, like weird jumps and like flying out of helicopters that explode at the same time. Like it starts getting a little too phantasmical. And then you get into like Sekiro's just comically impossible. What the fuck, you a guy who can summon lightning into his sword and swing it at you? Fuck off, dude. You're not making that
Honestly-
into a movie. You're just gonna
honestly-
make that, yeah.
I would watch that. I haven't played Sekiro, but I would 100% go to the
You
movies.
can watch it. Dude, you could just
And
go to a fucking like a list of B and C movies from Japan and go watch that very thing. It's just like
No,
awful,
but it needs to be.
I'm
shitty
the
rubber
asshole
suit
that has
like,
fun watching the opening fight of Sucker Punch. Where it's
Oh,
just,
yeah, I
it's just
remember.
it's
see,
just this girl fighting like 20-foot tall samurai robots with like Dragon Ball Z physics where they crater the ground and shit.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff drives me bonkers. It's like
I liked it.
It's
I
it's
liked
so
it.
stupid.
so
It's great.
it just looks so awful though. Like I know it can look better if
It's
it
not
wasn't in this
supposed-
god awful medium. It's so limited. Like just stop. Just leave it alone. I don't know. It's like trying to turn a game into a book where you're like, wow, this is amazing. I love feeling like I have control over a character in a book. Wait a second. I don't, because it's not what this fucking medium's for. Don't do that. Like a choose your own adventure book is dumb because when you do choose your own adventure, you still go back. That's not how books are supposed to be.
You
Just
don't.
read
You
the
shouldn't go
book.
back. What is this? You're cheating at your choosing your own adventure
It's
game.
a book. I'm reading it from start to finish. I'm not doing a weird thing where I swip around the pages. If you want it to be a
have to.
game, make a point and
No.
click adventure game. We have a thing for that. Like it's
No.
again,
Just
it's like
just imagining Andrew spitefully reading a fucking choose your own adventure book in page order.
I did that for the Goosebumps one. There's a Goosebumps like, point, and I was like, I'm not gonna read this from like change the page. I tried it. I was like, go to page 65, okay, and then it was like, go to page 25. I was like, I'm not going backwards. I just went forwards. Fuck off. Like that's stupid. How far is this gonna be? And so I just went
It's a
back to the
lot
beginning,
shorter.
read the whole thing, and it was it's just a quick book. You get
No, it's a lot shorter if you don't do that. If you
No,
play the game,
it
it's a lot shorter.
It was super quick because you can brush over a lot of stuff that happens again. Like you don't realize how much stuff is
there's a
happening
lot of it.
twice
That's
in a
true.
book. So you get to just skip whole paragraphs because nothing changes in it. It's way faster to read it that way, and you get every ending. It's dumb. I hate choosing.
You get every
ending.
end. That is
I hate-
true, actually. You get all the 100% completion.
I am very much like, look, there
Choose
is
your
a
own
there. We have a thing. Do the
The
thing.
last
in
choose your own
thing because
adventure
it's
book I
made for
read was
that.
actually really entertaining.
I'm glad. I'm
I
glad you had fun.
like Choose Your
I
Own
read
Adventure books.
I read a book called I Am Not a Wolf, and it's just a wolf.
Okay.
It's just a wolf
So
who he decided he didn't like living in the forest anymore, so he joined human society. So he has an office job, and he wears like a dress, like he wears like a polo shirt and stuff like an office worker, and like slacks, and like, but he's not even an anthro wolf or a werewolf. He's just a wolf, and the comedy comes from the fact that he can just do his office work, and like if he maintains his like his composure, nobody notices that he's a wolf. But
That's funny.
and so that's like the setup, and then every branching choice, you're just trying to navigate one day as an office worker without fucking up and being outed as a wolf. And there's just a wide variety of fucked up dumb things that happen over the course. Like you have your asshole coworker that you don't like, and he has his own little shitty like lackey, and he's like kind of being broy and nice to you, but only in this weird kind of like semi-power move where it's like this weird masculine tug of war that happens in the office environment that's just kind of dumb and baffling to the protagonist. And like there's like so many outcomes that come from just that interaction of like how many ways you can fuck this entire thing up while you're just trying to like understand human culture. And it has like it's like it's kind of written from an anti-capitalist leftist sort of situation. Like it does have a literal eat the rich ending at one point.
Nice.
So there is just, it just says the cruelest things about what humans have done to themselves with work culture
office work,
via
yeah.
this like Wolf's interpretation of what even the point of this is supposed to be. And it's a very entertaining book. I had a good time. I think I like finished it, quote unquote, like 6 times, like finding different paths through it. It is a trip.
And if you want video games about your choose your own adventure books, they also exist, which is weird because it's the other way around that you'd think, right? It'd be choose your own adventure books from video games. But the Wizardry series is really good. Steve King. Is it Steve King? Or Wizard? Which is one?
Couldn't tell you. Obviously, I'm not a fan.
Stephen
of
King is the horror
books.
author.
Yeah, that's true. Is it Wizard or I don't remember. I have a let's play of it, but I can tell in a little bit. But yeah, I had Choose Your Own Adventure book. I had Fighting Story. I think was this not, it's a different thing. And I played The Forest of Doom many times. And then I got more books and I played those as well. But Forest of Doom is really good. It's I think it is Forest of Doom.
You didn't play a book. You read a book. You didn't play it. You had literally no interaction with the book besides turning the pages.
No, but that's like saying you don't play Monopoly. You read the cards and
No,
the
there are more things going on in Monopoly than a choose your own adventure book. Like
But
it
the book-
literally is just turning pages. You're reading a choose your own adventure book.
You have to throw the dice, you have to take notes, and you have to think. Those are extraneous to the book. Right?
What?
I'm saying the book is a tool.
What are you talking about?
The book is a tool to get to play, not you're not just reading the book. You read the book. I didn't.
I did not. There were definitely no like roll the dice in any adventure book I have ever read or choose your own adventure book.
I remembered the name. It's Sorcery! ! Steve Jackson is the
Steve Jackson, the guy that makes Munchkin.
Yeah. It's really good. The Sorcery.
Or that's his company
games.
or whatever.
It's 4 games. It's actually kind of big. If you play the 4 games, it takes quite a few hours. And it's really fun. Highly recommend.
I like things that play with format and medium. That's neat. Fun idea. Do not be discouraged by Andrews that are dumb.
I am very much the opposite. Like if you change the format, I'm going to like hate you for life. It is
you also will just play a game where the premise is a specific thing and you'd be like, I reject this entire premise. I'm going to just refuse to acknowledge it and brute force through it the whole time.
Yeah, that's the point. I have that option. I have that freedom to do it in that medium. But like I don't want things that don't belong in a medium in the medium. It's like you don't wear socks when you wear water slippers. Like that's stupid. Like why would you do that? There's a whole point. Like socks are for shoes or boots or like non-water slipper things. You don't wear socks with water slippers.
I don't know what water slippers are.
I'm Googling water slippers.
You don't know what water slippers are?
Oh, these things, yeah.
Yeah, the things you wear to go into the pool or whatever so you don't get warts on your feet.
Warts?
You wear those at the pool?
You get warts
You're supposed
on your feet
to.
at the pool?
So, oh my god.
Who the fuck on the planet wears the... I've only ever worn these when I'm going to the beach and I don't want to like fuck up my feet on like the coral shit.
So you definitely can do that. That's an option. But as a fun fact, people who do have warts on their feet that go to public pools or hot tubs or things like that will just touch the bottom of the pool with their feet. And that can mean when you touch the pool with the bottom of your feet, you can get warts that way. But water shoes prevent that. It's just a way to be more cleanly inside of a public pool because people are actually not cleanly.
I see.
So, anyways, the point being, you don't wear socks with them because that's not the fucking point. They're just supposed to protect your dumb bare feet. But if you wear socks with them, now you're like, what's the point? Why just wear the socks into the water? Why are you bothering with the stupid water slippers? They don't do anything at that point. Like, the point is to cover your feet. So when you add something else you don't need, you're just ruining it. So don't.
I forget warts even exist.
I mean, that's good. That means you're not doing a lot of things where you're proactively around people who have warts that don't care about your health and well-being.
Warts can be surgically removed.
If you need to surgically remove anything, you don't want it. Like, that's usually how I would say.
I mean, fair. That's true. It's just you wanted to. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I don't go to. I don't ever go to a public pool.
I've been a couple of times.
I've been trying to go to public hot springs more often, and this is a important piece of information tip when you go to them, is that you should have feet covering, because 1, the ground is cold, but 2, the people
in the hot springs.
Yeah, because they're naked. So you're at a hot springs where you don't have any, like, no clothes or anything on, but also the floor is like made of cement, and you're usually outside in the mountains, so it's very cold out there.
Oh, I see
and
what kind of hot springs you're talking about.
It's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to have like something on your feet, so that way your feet don't get hypothermia before you put them into boiling hot water. It's very handy. But also, again, because there's a lot of people in there, and it's like very obviously it's a high traffic area, you can't like vet every single person's foot coming into a pool, so it's easier just to protect your own feet than it is to like hope that like people are going in there with clean feet, because they're not. Like, no one's going in there clean.
Yeah,
like, you just have to succumb to that
normal,
like reality.
And even the people who do have warts, they should still be able to enjoy the pool. They just need covering in the foot, I think. Right?
Sure, we can go with that. I think warts are a little. I mean, much like where there are rules when you go into a hot springs, like don't have an open wound. Warts are similar in the fashion of like you don't want something that is spreadable inside of
that makes sense.
Pool where people are standing next to each other and spreading. It's not ideal. But the point being is that it's just it's best to keep things in their way, right? Like if a good example, I saw someone 3D print something so that way they can wear Crocs while they ski. Don't do that. Just buy ski boots.
No.
Just buy ski boots. That's the whole point for it. Don't
put
put adapters on your Crocs so you can ski with Crocs
3D
on. Don't
printed
do that.
though. You're just gonna break.
No. So, well, that's not the problem. The 3D print's actually going to be pretty strong. Just put 100%. Just put 100% infill, no problem. You basically have a solid hunk of plastic. The real problem is, sure, everything can break. There's boots that you put on your skis can break.
That's fair. That's fair.
The problem, though, is that Crocs aren't supposed to be used as ski shoes. That's not what they're made for. They're barely even made to be shoes as it is. They're full of holes in them. That's not what shoes are supposed to be. So
they're
it's just stay in the lane, right? Things are made specifically for a reason. There's a reason the tool set is made to solve certain problems. Don't be too crazy about it. It's fine. Just you can do a lot with what you have. You don't need to try and mix and match. You're fine. You're fine. You got plenty of opportunity.
I pity the whatever comment section archaeologist is going to try to the undertaking of figuring out what the through line was from Breath of the Wild to skiing in Crocs.
Well, YouTube has an algorithm for that. We're gonna have like the stages of the thing.
It's like this was one continuous conversation. But open world mechanics all the way to skiing in Crocs. I've lost it.
I think in the future there will be people, I imagine, like, thanks to the vector that things like TikTok and stuff like that have created for us. I think in the future people will be able to follow the through line because content will be so like nonsensical and so unstructured that people will be like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. I understand how you could go from that to that to that, because like my brain doesn't retain information from a single subject for more than 0.5 seconds. Yeah. So like I'm already on to the next topic by the time you brought up a topic. Yeah.
This is it's a podcast. People will expect
forget the past, kill it if you have to.
It is like biologically engineered short-term memory loss. Like we are specifically trying to create. But
anyway, I introduced the thought about Andrew's stubbornness because my introduction to Andrew in video games was, to a large extent, his approach to Left 4 Dead, which was to just completely ignore the idea of it being a 4-player co-op game, and he would just run through it, shooting everything like it was Doom, and then get killed instantly by the first like special infected mechanic that would run into him, and then blame the game for it, and then be like, "This game's stupid."
Dumb.
And
it is dumb that you can't get yourself out of situations. I think you should be
it's
able to
literally
escape.
the premise of the game.
I understand it's the premise of the game, but what if I don't have friends? Then I have to rely on the NPC to come help me? No.
I mean, it's designed to be a multiplayer game.
I know what it's designed to be,
yeah.
But I'm
amazed. I'm to this day amazed that Overwatch like broke you, and like you like
what do you mean?
instead of just bouncing off of Overwatch completely, it actually like you ended up playing a team game where you have to play as a team and you do teamwork.
Do you okay? So
like,
just for context,
like Andrew's
though,
probably better at teamwork than anyone in our group, and it's like that's literally the specific thing he would refuse to do in video games.
But do you understand like how there like if there was like a graph, you could have like a mental stability graph. The moment Overwatch starts, the match starts, the graph just starts dipping hard. It's like everyone's selling stocks. It just starts tanking. And then the moment that we win, it goes up a little bit, and then it never goes back to the beginning of when it first turned on Overwatch. The moment I start it, it's at a high, and then it just dips until I can't do it anymore, and then I have to leave. Like, it's so exhausting to do teamwork for me, especially in Overwatch. Because it's just a lot of like
therapy.
But the problem is, like, so with Overwatch, I've had to learn the hardest lesson to learn with Overwatch is you have to be, in order to do teamwork, you have to be I can't even think of like a more mature word for it. You have to be nice when people are bad. And that's really hard to do. I struggle a lot with not being toxic. And so like a lot of Overwatch is just
Overwatch
me, like,
2, you have to be nice when all of our friends are bad.
Yeah, and so like I literally, no joke, do not play Overwatch alone, because all it does is it just ruins my day. And so like it's so much easier to not do that. I'll play with friends, but yeah, and no matter what I do, the moment I turn on Overwatch, I get into the match and I see a guy who goes, "I'm going to pick this character and never play this character." And you're like, "What? Where are you going? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? You don't know what you're doing at all." There's a difference between training and practicing a character, and literally, I don't even think I know the mechanics of this game. And then you realize the further you watch, you're like, you don't even know what first-person shooters are. You have no concept of like a team. You have no concept of aiming, of tracking, of like object awareness. You're just like a nuisance, a literal human nuisance that's sitting here to just fucking ruin the whole game for everyone else. You might as well go play like that Mickey Mouse game we watched and have a much better time than whatever you're doing here right now. Just leave me alone. And that happens every single fucking match. And at some point you have to go like, okay, maybe I should just not do this, because I think I hate everyone in this game.
Yeah,
And like, it's not like and that's the worst part, is that it doesn't feel better to win either in Overwatch for me, because I go like, wow, I'm winning. I'm only winning because I bet their team has one of those fucking idiots who doesn't know what a first-person shooter is. Like, I always get on my team, so I'm not really winning. I'm winning because that they got unlucky in the pool of the draw instead of me getting unlucky all the fucking time. So it's not a skill-based game. It's just a luck-based game on which team gets the worst fucking player. Is it them or me? Like.
That's why I like playing Sombra, because what happens is, especially in lower ranks, which is where I play, there's always somebody trying to 1v5. Just, the whole team is dead, and I'm gonna take point. I'm gonna do it, and then they die 10 seconds after, inevitably, and get no picks.
It's called your Lucio.
It's called my Lucio, but I was.
Oh, come on, guys! Come on!
I can be
every
supported,
time.
though, if you join me.
You're all dead.
I don't
It's like
no. I'm not saying you didn't die and you're still fighting. That's something that I never learned, as Lucio and I have learned now. I never learned to basically give up a fight, basically. But that, I mean,
you have the best mobility to give up a fight. You can just be gone.
Exactly.
Like,
but I never did that.
So long, Bowser.
I had to play DPS to learn that lesson. But I'm saying, like, everybody died, and they're like trickling in, and just go in and die by themselves. what happens is sometimes the other team does that as well, and you can just farm people who are trying to 1v5. But sometimes they're just like peeking and being like, oh, I'm shooting from afar waiting for my team. As Sombra, you go right up to them and kill them because they can't do anything there by themselves. And that's amazing. I love doing that and punishing people who are like not really 1v5ing, but just shooting from a little bit afar and being like, I'm here, I'm waiting. No, you're not. And you can do that with Widowmaker, or you can do that with Diva. You can do that with Moira and just punish people who are by themselves. And it's lovely. Amazing.
Yeah, I think Overwatch, like this is like the reason I don't think this is the reason I've never gotten into other style games like Valorant or like I don't know, like League of Legends, which isn't first person, but like MOBA.
Yeah,
like I've never been into the either other MOBAs or other first person shooters, because like Overwatch got lucky with its like the way that I encountered it. And so because the way that I encountered it was like, okay, well, this is a thing I played with friends and I was able to be here from like the really beginnings and this is fine. I would never play a game like Overwatch ever again. Like ever. I would never do that. I hate MOBAs. I especially hate team-based first-person shooters. I would never play either of those games. And Overwatch's entire unique position is only allotted because I continue to have people I play it with. But like if everyone, like when everyone stopped playing it during like the drought of content, I barely played Overwatch. Like I would only play it just with Mandy and that was it. Like I would never do anything else with it. And I didn't like need that fix. Valorant came out, I didn't even bother trying. I still haven't even played Valorant because like nothing about it appeals to me. I don't want to
Valorant is just
play...
Counter-Strike, right? Except 3v3. V3.
It's just Counter-Strike, but with Overwatch elements. It has everyone has their own little MOBA abilities, but you also have to buy guns and stuff. Like
3v3.
Yeah, but like it's just I don't. Like why? Why would I do that to myself? It's just I don't know. I am very staunchly a non-competitive based gamer. I don't like competitive gaming.
Which is why it's like your most played video game ever.
I mean, technically, I think it's my most played
though.
video game ever is still World of Warcraft. But actually, I think Final Fantasy 14 is coming up on breaching that.
God damn.
Probably.
Most of the time, you're not playing; you're just watching cutscenes.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, I mean, technically,
we barely play
WoW,
Final Fantasy 14. Like,
yeah, we don't technically play Final Fantasy.
If our Final Fantasy 14 time is what you're counting as your Final Fantasy 14 time, you still play more Overwatch every week than Final Fantasy 14.
No. I remember I also played Final Fantasy 14 for like 2 or so odd years before we started playing.
I'm just saying it's not catching up because it's increasing slower than your Overwatch time.
Oh, sure. I think my Overwatch time is probably, because I think WoW, when I stopped playing WoW when I stopped playing WoW, I think I was in like the 1500 hours played.
In Overwatch or WoW?
No, in WoW.
Oh, right.
In Overwatch, I'm at 1300 right now.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
And you're not a Grandmasters, Andrew.
No, I mean, because so in order for me to get up there, I would definitely need to be more dedicated to like a single character. Like I need to actually spend time like hard grinding a fucking character and being good at it. I am a jack of all trades in Overwatch. I can play every character just mediocrely. I can play every character like as a plat at mostly gold. But
the idea that people one trick depresses me.
I would love to one trick, but my mentality couldn't handle it. The idea that I couldn't just pick a character to fix a problem is just baffling.
I can't even process the idea of like launching into Overwatch. A match starts and you're not immediately thinking, okay, what character should I pick for this level? Like the idea that you're just no, this is the one character I play. I just click on them every single time. This literally, I don't even think on the screen. I just autopilot to my one portrait every match for hundreds of hours. And I'm like, what? That's not even what the game is to me. I'm like like you and Bird got really hooked to the game, especially in Overwatch 2, and are quickly approaching my playtime.
I've surpassed.
I think
it by
you've
now.
passed my playtime already in all of Overwatch combined. So I'm horrified when I look at your guys' playtime per
But I
character.
don't want Trick anymore.
Yeah, but almost the entirety of all of your Overwatch ever is just Lucio until recently.
That's true.
And
But that's because I like
the
movement.
entirety
It's-
of Bird's characters played in all time is just Kiriko and Mercy. Just 2 characters.
Yeah,
And I'm
I
like,
think-
hundreds
we
of
should
hours of
branch
just
out.
that. No wonder you guys sound fucking depressed every time you talk about this game. What the fuck?
No,
I only
I-
play like
I
25 characters.
I protest this. I protest because Lucio is fun to play.
You guys sound so fucking miserable all the time, and I'm like,
It's
because it's
I just
Yeah.
have fun,
Because
and
it's
the number of
support.
times where switching
Yeah.
characters completely changes the match is just such
That's
a big
true, that's
deal.
100%.
Like,
But support. The problem is support. The people, your teammates just turbo feed.
I both
They go
would
by
not be.
themselves
I would
and
both
give
not be
themselves
having
kills.
as much fun, and would not be as high rank if I was just Moira every match because
Yeah.
because I do well at her. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
I know, and I must play
I
characters
just
like
don't-
Moira, Reinhardt, Symmetra, but like, unlike a lot of players, my 2nd, 3rd, 4th places and all that are like right behind them. Like, it is my character lines are like they look like they look like a graph. Like you could chart the slope of my
But
of the
DPS is
graph of my
different, though.
lines, whereas like half the other
You need
some
to
of you
forget-
guys
you
just
need-
have 2 giant meters, and then everything else is a
Yeah.
little sliver. I'm like, no, wrong. What? Why are you
But the
like
thing
this?
is-
And I
but-
know deep down that's like how people are, like that's how high ranked players are most of the time. But I'm like, that's horrifying. That's like defeats the
They-
purpose
but they
of the
play other
entire
stuff, though.
game.
high rank players.
Well,
at
yeah,
least the
but-
streamers, they tend to play other stuff every once in a while. Like even
But this is
like for
also,
example, I'm
yeah.
watching a lot of Fitzy, which is a top rank Sombra player, Sombra main. And he plays other stuff as well. Like even his montages, he shows other characters. But the thing is, there's only so many support players. When I started playing, there were only like what 6 support characters, I should say. 7 perhaps. I don't know. But the point is, there's not that many options, and especially when you're devoted to learning Lucio in particular, or even Mercy in the movement, you're just so good at that character that it feels like an insurmount, like a terrible decision, and it is a terrible decision to go to a character that you're not good with. Like the moment I started branching out from Lucio to Ana in particular, because Ana was good at carrying Orisa and carrying Zarya. And Ana is really good at carrying Orisa and Zarya. But the moment I started to branch out, like you could see people would complain about my performance, and I was giving my best, and I was like, okay, I am going to purposely stay back as much as possible and not die, because that's how I can reliably be sucky at Ana. Because sometimes using Lucio just doesn't work, because Lucio, the aura, you need people around you, and if everybody's playing every which way, then,
Yeah.
like you shouldn't play Lucio unless you have like a really really good Reinhardt or something, and you can just stick to the Reinhardt. Or
The nice thing
whatever.
about
Like,
Overwatch is that the more you play different characters and just put time in the game in general and develop your game sense and are just progressing, you start hitting a point where you can just swap to a character you don't know how to play and just do it. Like surprising, it's surprising how much you could just pick up a character that you have no experience with because
So
of
my
how much
problem-
you've developed skills with the game.
my problem was the aim, and with Ana in particular, I'm good with unscoped Ana because it's the projectile, and I have good accuracy with unscoped Ana, or I have now a lot better. But when I was playing Lucio, as like 90% of my games, I was good at unscoped Ana. But the problem is I don't have the game sense required to know what Ana is supposed to do. So even if I can move it around, I never learned Ana. Even simple things like nanoing. As Lucio, you can imagine I would never get nanoed unless I jump in front of the tank. So it's like I didn't know how to
You're
nano.
powered
Now
up.
I know.
Get
but
in there.
The reason why I know now is because I play DPS and I understand the whole new facet of the game. And like
That is
starting to
especially important, is playing other
Yeah.
roles makes you better at the roles that you like. Like the
Yeah.
number of DPS and tanks, you can tell when your DPS and tanks have never played support because they don't understand how a support character even works, all they know is that they
Yeah.
died ever, and therefore the healers fucked them over somehow. And like, they fundamentally don't understand like how healers work, what their like healing bandwidths are, what the line of sight requirements are, and mobility requirements, like how they have to play in order to survive when people aren't babysitting them and defending them, and like the resources they often have to manage in order to even manage to heal, and like the sheer number of like complications. And it's how you get to like that highlight I have of that Zen and Reinhardt that I realized were streaming. So I went to their stream to see them talking shit about us, and then showed the how warped their perspective was about what was happening in the match when they're complaining and everything. Like, this Ana doesn't heal. It's like when I was healing literally the entire match and had gold healing, obviously, which isn't that hard to get versus a Zen, but obviously I was healing. Or like, why didn't the Ana follow me? And I'm like, from my perspective, it's like this Reinhardt turned like 3 corners in a row into the enemy spawn and died. And I'm like, well, why is this my fault?
Turbo feeding. That's the thing, though. I like. There's wrong things to do as a character, and people do wrong things and then complain about the healers. That's definitely true.
Yeah.
I never really had that problem because Lucio is just a different kind of healer. So basically, it's just like, come to my aura. Don't be outside. So no, people don't usually complain about Lucios. They complain about Lucio not healing a tank, which is fair because it's not good for tanks. But what I do see, and in bronze and silver, I see that a lot, is the support like just not healing and just going for DPS. Like you're standing in front of them at half health or even critical sometimes. They don't heal you. They don't care. And if you need to press heal me, or I need healing, and they sometimes heal you, but sometimes not even then. It's just like, one of the last few games that I had as Lucio, I was just getting done at that point. This was Silver 1, I think. And I started as Lucio, and then we had Lucio Ana on the New York map. I forget the name of the map, Grand Central or whatever. And Diana was just doing. It had 2,000 damage already and like 300 health, 300 healing, and the tank was dying. Had died 4 times, killed 1 person, and we were down 1 point already. And I'm like, this Ana is not healing. This is a DPS player that thinks they can just carry the game by shooting with Ana. So what I did is I switched to Zen, and I was healing the tank, and the tank, was dying because it's not enough. When they look at the healing stats, they see that Diana is not healing, because as a Lucio, you kind of tickle the healing, and it's like it comes across as not doing anything. So what I did is, by switching to Zen, is forcing Diana to pull her weight. And then they complained. They said, your Zen sucks. And my Zen sucks. My Zen is absolutely terrible. And then the moment they start healing, I switched back to Lucio, and we won the game. But my point is, sometimes there's just DPS players queuing as support, and you see that more and more. I see that more and more. It's like a plague, honestly. It's the battle mercies. It's the DPS Moiras. It's the freaking. I mean, the Zens though. The Zens are good. When is the Zen is DPS? I mean, I've seen amazing Zens, honestly.
I mean, Zen is just a DPS character.
That's true, but like Zen is so powerful.
They are just like a focus character. Like, you should have your healing orb on someone and paying attention to not just having it sit on the full health character and so on. And you should be ready to have that very powerful ult go off in life-saving situations. But Zen's healing is so weak that it's common for the majority of his healing to be from his ult. But he's so high damage. Like, if you're landing headshots and you're also just putting your orb on the right target and the team's fighting together, you just keep melting things all the time, and it's horrifying. But it's like Zen is absolutely the character you should be playing if you're going to be a DPS support, when you just are not that focused on being a healer, because he's terrifying when that goes well.
Yeah. And then you can discord. Like, I was playing also in New York. I started off as a Reaper. I usually started off as a Reaper on New York. But I gauge what the enemy team has and then just change if needed. And what ended up happening is that, I saw that I wasn't getting healed. The Zen was healing the tank, and the Moira was effing off somewhere and not doing anything. And I was like, oh, okay, no heals in this game again. So Sombra it is, because you put your transponder on a mega health pack and you're good to go. or not transporter, the teleporter thing for Sombra. And I was playing as Sombra, and I started noticing that if I hacked anybody in the middle of a melee, in the middle of a fight, the Zen would put the Discord immediately on the hacked character. So what happens with Sombra is that if you hack a character for 8 seconds, you have 40% extra damage against that character, and the Discord adds 25% extra damage for everybody that hits that character. So I was dealing plus 4, so it's 140% plus 25. It's 25 percentile points. It's not cumulative, so it's plus 65% damage. So I would just melt the characters. I would hack them and absolutely melt, and we won that game so readily. And the Zen was doing damage on his own as well. It's just like every once in a while you see people that, yeah, they're playing a weird character for the class, but like when they're good, they're good. But when it's a Moira, like fighting a Moira is really easy. And Moiras don't learn that lesson in lower ranks because the Moira doesn't headshot. Doesn't like you don't need to jiggle around the Moira because she's always going to hit you. All she has to do is right click at you. And
to some extent, Moira's the scary character in low ranks because she's just unescapable. Like she's just this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like she's this inevitable low skill source of damage, and so you have to specifically pop off and headshot her to kill her first. Yeah.
But also, you don't need to jiggle. You don't need to jump at a Moira. You don't need to like AD spam or anything. You don't need to crouch spam or
evasion's pointless. You can just stand still and shoot her as best you can. The only mobility is if you're going to literally escape.
Yeah. If you're a character that can escape a Moira, perhaps you should, unless you have a good matchup. Like a Reaper,
Cassidy is great for Moira duels because he gets to just relax and headshot her.
The problem is, well, if you catch her without the fade, you can just sticky grenade her and.
Well, if she fades, she's running away.
No, a lot of Moiras fade into the battle because they're bad.
Well, that is definitely worse. But I'm saying like as worse. Cassidy, Moira can't do anything specifically threatening to you, so you can just like hang out and just headshot her because she's just doing damage at a fixed rate and you can't evade it. So. Yeah. Just calm down and headshot her, and then if she fades, then now she's vulnerable to your sticky, which is much worse.
Yeah. But I like using a Reaper against Moiras because they think they can come at me because like a Reaper is a tricky character because people don't know to like you need to be on top of the character because the shotgun has a lot of spread, so you need to be like a meter or two away from a character, so it's like really on top. And Moiras love being close to you as well because they, that's how they evade. Because the closer you are, the harder you are to hit. But for my Reaper anyway, it's just like, oh, you come to me, and then they die. Because
I can struggle with Reaper sometimes because he's effective at such uncomfortably close ranges that it could be hard to actually track targets and not just whiff because you're blowing out that one. I was about to say, like, we should just have Toaster on the podcast because fucking Andrew's having a whole debate with him in text chat right now. But then I remember Toaster's on vacation, which is why we're having a podcast instead of Outbreak this week. So he'd be shitty phone audio. I was like, y'all could just debate. Y'all could just debate that game in the podcast, but he would sound like shit.
Yeah.
Right. We promised to talk shit about Dark Souls 2 hours ago.
Go for it.
Oh right.
Shit.
Dragon Buttland.
Yeah, what happened?
Talk about shit about Overwatch instead.
Yeah. What happened is there was the video game meme. Which is the most non-descriptive title possible, but it's this grid of pictures where you fill in like what's your favorite game of all time, what game's overrated, what's your once a year game, blah blah blah. Like there's just a bunch of like you just use a bunch of pictures, and I filled mine out with a rule to not use a single game twice, and also I unhelpfully didn't use a single logo. So if you can't recognize the game, good luck. And just had some fun with that. But then Toaster filled his out, and we had some kinship where for our canceled game was PT in both cases, and our overrated game was Ghost of Tsushima in both cases. But what is it?
Also, everyone's wrong about this one is Dark Souls 2. Did you?
Oh yeah,
maybe you didn't do that.
No, mine was Dark Souls 2. His was Castlevania.
Oh, is this not Toaster's? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one.
Well, there's two Toaster ones.
Oh, there it is.
One's a joke.
But really? My biggest letdown slot was Yick. His biggest letdown was Bloodstained. But then we had this big discussion before the podcast where I was just like, we gotta start the podcast. Like we're just talking about games. Like we could be recording this, but then we stopped that topic. Because
of a discussion.
But then a topic got cut off because I mean it would have been a big discussion. It was launching into a whole thing.
Yeah.
But then that got cut off because Andrew brought up the Nintendo Direct and we did that instead. But
Sorry.
we're potentially gonna open with just talking shit about Souls games. Because what caught Colonel's attention is that in the second version of the favorite game meme that Toaster posted, it's just all Souls games, the entire screen. It's like favorite game overall, Bloodborne, changed you as a person, Demon Souls, biggest overrated, Dark Souls, biggest letdown, Dark Souls. Like most of the really good things on the entire screen are Bloodborne, and most of the bad ones where you have to talk about something bad are Dark Souls 1. And that caught Colonel's attention. But yeah, like I was talking about, like at the time, Toaster was really, really into Demon Souls when it was new. And so for him, Dark Souls was a letdown. Like it felt like a step back and away from a lot of what was good about Demon Souls. And overall, I agree, because like I had that time where I was dragged on the shitty Dark Souls Reddit, where they took my tweet and posted it, and like, when you really want to have a special opinion, you're so unique, and like implying I'm being contrarian for the sake of it or whatever. When I had my ranking of all the Souls games, where I said that the best one is I said Dark Souls 2 is the best one, and the second best one is Bloodborne, and then Demon Souls. And my bottom games, like I said the worst one was Dark Souls 1, and the second worst one was Elden Ring or something. And to be clear, these are all good games. So like that's the like this is a narrow band of quality we're discussing, where it's not like, oh, this is the Sonic 06 of Dark Souls games. Like they're good games. But Dark Souls is like, yeah, well, you know, like it's like people
I'm imagining you.
People look at that list and they're acting like I'm looking at the Bloodborne and Dark Souls and Sekiro like thing, the Soulsborne like semi-franchise genre thing of From Software games, and they act like I'm comparing these games as if they're like Devil May Cry 5 and Devil May Cry 2. Like, and it's like that range does not exist in the Dark Souls franchise and its spin-offs and there's
I'm just
inheritors
thinking of like a
or whatever.
Souls game. I'm thinking of a Souls game where like you just even rolling causes you to like fall through the earth or something like that. Just like every single conceivable part of a Souls game just being a nightmare to get through. Like bosses that just don't take damage or things like that. And just be like, oh my god, this like I would hate that. The Sonic 06 of Dark Souls. What a nightmare.
Like as somebody who played the franchise in order as they were coming out, and I played Demon Souls when it first came out, and I struggled with it. I bounced off it a bit, and Dark Souls kind of helped me. It was the kind of one where I kind of committed, partly because like the zeitgeist, and I kind of got through that and so on. And then I played Dark Souls 2 as it came out and so on. Like when you go back and play the games in order, it is pretty noticeable how much a lot of Dark Souls 1 is a step down in quality from Demon Souls, and Dark Souls 2 is a step forward. Like it's actually like, it's amazing that the cultural memory of it is that Dark Souls 2 is this amazing game, and those games are both bad. Like Demon Souls is the fucked up experiment that they improved on and made a good game finally out of with Dark Souls supposedly, and then Dark Souls 2 is somehow a huge mistake. Like it's very strange that that's where the discussion is, but like we have that a lot. Like it's the ongoing thing with like The Last Jedi and like The Last of Us Part 2, where like just bizarrely it's like the discourse, it completely inverts to like what the actual quality of the things are, and because it becomes like a popular meme at some point to discuss them in that way. And it's like, guys, I can tell you're having the Doctor Who effect here, where it's just like, this is the Doctor that was the Doctor when the show was popular in a specific moment where I got into the show, so the best Doctor forever. And so like Dark Souls 2 is where I got into the franchise, or Dark Souls 1 is where I got into the franchise, therefore it's the best one, because I can never recreate the arc of beating a Souls game for the first time and overcoming, and everything else feels derivative and repetitive by comparison. But like Dark Souls is a weirdly janky, unfinished mess. Like it's like like famously it barely ran when it came out, and it didn't, and that never got fixed. It just it's just that it got ported to PC, and then hardware kept getting better, and we modded out all the most of the problems.
And
so
on PC, it ran at 720p.
Oh yeah, on PC.
Trust me, we know.
Oh yeah, its PC port was 720p 30, and it still ran like shit half the time. It was on Games for Windows Live, and that's not even what I mean specifically. But yeah, it was poorly optimized and poorly like working in general. But it's also like, and I know that Illusory Wall enjoys this, and it's part of, and it's like a whole fandom thing now to like dig into the weird features of this. But like, this game is full of so many like half implemented broken features, like grave lording and stuff. Like how like when I was teaching it, like it's such a janky, weird experience that like when I was playing the game with Andrew, when I'd already beaten the game like 5 times, we were like leaving. He's like opening the shortcut door at the beginning of the painted world that leads back to the bonfire, and it fucking's like. It's like, disasters are removed because the Gravelord servant has defeated. It just pops that up on the screen. And we don't know what any of those words mean, including me, the person that's played...
Including disasters.
I've played so much Dark Souls, and I don't even know what it's talking about. Because you have to, like... It's like a Wikipedia exclusive message as far as understanding what the fuck that even was saying. It's like, even I can't tell Andrew what's happening. But, like... Half the mechanics don't make sense and don't work. The netcode's trash. Most of the covenants just refuse to have any kind of enjoyable gameplay or thing that's even worth pursuing. It's full of vestigial, weird, half-implemented mechanics that they just kind of added on. Some of them are iterating on Demon Souls mechanics, and some of them are new ideas that just didn't work out. But above all, people praise the game so hard for its interconnectedness when the interconnectedness is almost exclusively just the early game, and almost none of it has a reason to matter. Like, almost none of the interconnectedness is mechanically relevant to any of your decision-making or, like, gameplay throughout the game. And almost all of it amounts to, like, aside from being like, oh, the lower Undead Burg has a door that shortcuts back to the upper Undead Burg, but you won't use that. Like, it's not very important that happens, but you just be like, oh, that door from earlier, here I am. I'll never take this path, but that's what that door was. Interesting. The one that's like you go from the upper Undead Burg bridge with the 3 people that throw firebombs at you into that one sheltered room that has 2 enemies, then one of them has a shield, and then there's a gate there, but you can't open it, so you go left to the guard tower, then up the ramp towards the Tauros demon. Like, eventually, like, oh, I opened that gate now. Oh, that's where it was. Like, that's half of the interconnectedness, is just being like, Like, it's not like Metroidvania stuff. You're like, oh shit, I can go this way now, and it's all important to my wolf powers and mist form.
I used that door when I was exploring the depths, my first time around the game, because I had the bonfire was powerful. Yeah, because I didn't find
because you could enhance the bonfires in that game. You're right.
Yeah, but also I don't think I found the bonfire down there for a while. Like, I played the game for 15 hours by myself. I wasn't really. I wasn't
sometimes
really fully
the
aware of
interconnectedness is most relevant when you have the most horrifying, like, gap in your knowledge where you missed a really specific thing. So you're like, my bonfire is 4 zones away from the thing I'm trying to do, and you have to like zigzag through this nightmare of ramps and like and enemies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for a blind playthrough, and I think people even like we say blind playthrough as Let's Players because for us it's very obvious with an audience.
That you shouldn't
the gaps
just
in our
cheat
knowledge
all the time what to do.
No, not just that. I think
so much of the audience just looks things up the entire time they're playing these games.
That, but also if they don't look things up, it feels like they know everything. When we don't have an audience telling us you're doing this wrong, you don't understand how the little things, the pieces in the Minish Cap game connect to other. Like, you don't know how to upgrade your weapon or whatever. Like, I didn't know how to upgrade my weapon for the first 15 hours of the game. I didn't understand that mechanic.
Oh, jeez.
Which was fine. You can play the game. That's fine.
Challenge run, like, let's go.
But people, when you play a game by yourself, you don't understand what you're doing wrong, and it feels like you're doing everything right, and the game is what it is. So for your experience of the interconnectedness can be completely legitimate and created by your lack of knowledge, which is, totally fine. But it's just like, I think it's not necessarily that it's a crutch for new players, the interconnectedness, but Demon's Souls does it better for a reason, because there's only one bonfire per level. I don't know if that's where you were going, Keith, with the interconnectedness. Because
no, because like Demon's Souls doesn't have interconnectedness.
It does, though. Well, at least in one of the levels, with the shortcuts back.
Yeah, well, I just mean like the levels don't attach to each other because they're all played back to back.
Yeah, they don't.
It's just that the levels themselves have one bonfire, so they're forced to have. They're forced to think about having a series of shortcuts and things unlock over the course of it, and more like a way that they would later happen, like the Surge, because it had a similar approach. So they had to figure out how to make the levels more navigatable to work around that specific limitation they were placing on the player. And that does lead to having a series of things you open up that feel really rewarding. It's like, oh fuck, this goes here. Oh, thank God, this leads back to this place. Whereas like bonfire, Dark Souls 1 kind of just spams bonfires and doesn't really lean on that particular approach. And in particular, like one of the main interconnected elements is just the Valley of Drakes, which is just kind of a shitty level. It's just the Valley of Drakes is just a ragged cliff with a shitty dragon boss fight in it that they copy pasted from somewhere else, and it just is a weird blob that's just like, my job is to connect 6 things by not being a level in my own right. It's like, all right, was this really worth it? I don't know if this really like accomplishes that much. It's like, okay, technically, I can walk from this strange backdoor spot of the
and he looks ugly as well.
Dark Root Garden, and then go from there to Firelink or the
Zen Fortress
or Blight
Sense,
not Sense Fortress or Blight Town, but like I don't know if that accomplishes much. Other ones, it's technically doable, and also like the interconnectedness is somewhat cut down of like being this interesting exploration thing, because a huge number of players just start with the master key, which immediately fucks up the whole thing, because you can just go straight to Blight Town and not deal with half of why those zones even connect, and that's an incredibly strange thing.
But that's fine as well.
But above all, because I'm just trying to attack the thing that people praise too much about Dark Souls 1, like the interconnectedness is this amazing thing, when it's mostly just like a spectacle, like, oh look that goes there, that's interesting, and then you never come back. But above all, like, Dark Souls just plummets in quality after you get the Lord Vessel. Like, it's astonishing how bad, on average, most of the levels are after that point, where half of them are just kind of agony to play, and a lot of them are just uninspired, kind of just a straight shot with hazards in a way that's, like, significantly less interesting than half of the levels in Demon's Souls that were technically like that. Like, and like they lean really heavy on the idea that you're hopefully very engaged with or entertained by this particular like gimmick that the zone has, because there's very little else coming out of it. Like Seath's Archive is all right, but the what is it called? The Grave of, is it called the Grave of Saint? No, the Valley of Giants.
No, Grave of Saints is
the Dark Zone, the dark zone in Dark Souls.
The Abyss or whatever,
and the Demon Ruins, and the Crystal Cavern, are all just like, it's just a zigzaggy path to an end, and the gimmick each time is, this one you can't see the platforms, this one you can't see anything, this one the floor is lava, and also you can't dodge it. So you just have to wear a special item to get through it. One of the worst defenders is the Demon Ruins, because like once you get past Ceaseless Discharge, it's just 2 boss fights you fought already, repeating over and over again, until you then get to the boss of the zone, which itself is just a boss fight you've already fought twice before. But it's the 3rd time he's a real boss fight again, followed immediately by an iffy centipede boss, and that's like, the boss is kind of okay, but the arena is just horrific. And then you have to push through just an endless amount of running through lava that's hurting you slowly if you have the ring, or killing you instantly if you don't. And you just push through that to then fight Dragon Buttland. Just an entire zone that is the back half of the Undead Dragon over and over again. Bafflingly. It's like the least fun zone they've ever made. Like, it doesn't even have the novelty of the nightmarish reindeer level from Dark Souls 2. Even, which itself is its own kind of agony.
It's a good thing that it doesn't have that novelty.
And then that's followed by the Demon Ruins, which itself is just like a very uninteresting, boring, tedious level full of just the worst enemies, and then with infamously like the worst boss. And it's like huge chunks of Dark Souls 1 are like not interesting challenges. Like there's entire levels that like I kind of like the Darkness one, and but that's about it. Like I'm immediately not very interested in going down the invisible platforms, fight the same crystal man over and over again, crystal golem, and like the demon ruin, and like the whole demon area is so bad that people genuinely consider paying like 40 humanity to skip it because it's that unfun, even though it doesn't take that long to just blitz through, even when you hate it. And then even the skip path recycles the fucking Titanite demon again, so you have to deal with him on that path, and you're just like, kill me.
I think
also the Lord Vessel's fucking fog gates are stupid. It's just really stupid that there's giant golden fog gates that stop you from progressing for no reason, and they let you go really deep down one-way paths before you encounter them in many cases, and you're just like, oh, guess I just can't.
That feels like a really last minute.
Fun.
Excuse me. They changed the order or something of the
it feels extremely thrown at the last minute. It's because almost everything about Dark Souls feels just wildly unfinished compared to every other game they've made. Like Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring, and Dark Souls 2 and 3, none of them are so explicitly full of the like Wind Waker-esque unfinished content in the way that Dark Souls 1 is. And like so much of Dark Souls 1 is just cobbled together bad content that you just have to just choke through. It's just, I'm so confused that people can just continually refuse to re-examine the series and just acknowledge that Dark Souls 1 was neat and it got them into the franchise, but holy fuck, it's a mess. It's such a mess. Like, why can't we acknowledge this?
I think regarding the interconnectedness, I think that Dark Souls 2 does it better. And let me explain. It's not the same kind of interconnectedness in the sense that you explore one branch of a level and then it turns back into the beginning of a different level or whatever, which is what Dark Souls 1 does. What Dark Souls 2 does is it has a hub that you at first don't really see all the connections, because you get to a point of where the Emerald Herald is, and you get this like a big like thing overlooking an ocean, and like there's a few paths that connect to it, and like you can immediately tell there is a path that connects to a land of like islands in the middle of an ocean. I forget the name of the thing. It's where you fight that shield dude. What is it called? I forget the name of the bosses actually. It has giant statues, and there's a dragon that connects to the blue sentinel. Do you know the name, Keith?
I lost the thread a little bit. What happened? The dragon with the blue sentinel.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the two. Basically, you get to a hub.
I noticed that. I noticed there was a waveform on my desktop audio, and I'm like, I shouldn't have any audio running right now. So for a second there, I'm like, where's this audio coming from? And I lost the thread a little bit.
Yeah. What I'm trying to say is there's Dark Souls 2. What it does is it gets you into a hub, and at first you think there's only two paths, and one of them goes to a completely different place than the other. And you just explore which one you find easiest or which one you like the best. And then over the course of the game, more paths open from that hub. It's the well that leads you to a place. There's like a trap thing.
You get
in
the
middle
stone
of
that rotates that one hub door, and it goes to a completely different location. And there's also the realization that Hades Tower of Flame and the Forest of the Fallen Giants both lead to that cove, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. That's the only sort of circle back thing.
So that in particular, that zone that has the ruined sentinels and the lost sinner, if I remember correctly, has like two entrances. So it has like a multiple exploration pass through there. That's like an interesting traversal there.
Honestly, it feels very inconsequential.
You just end up seeing the zone from a different perspective. It's like what if the Blighttown ran?
But what I think Dark Souls 2 does better is that the hub, like even though it's the same hub, it keeps opening new paths from that hub, and not in the sense, oh, this is an illusory wall over here. It's just things, a well. You didn't think the well would lead anywhere. Guess what? It does. This cellar in this house has a thing. Guess what? It leads to a place, and like, I think it is better, and it does it in other places as well, not just in the initial hub. It does it in the what is it called? That place that leads to the fog area. There's a couple of areas that it basically branches without you knowing in advance that it does, and I like that. It's not
the Forest of Beastmen.
Yeah. It's
Shaded
I
Woods.
like that.
There
it's
we go.
cool. Shaded Woods, which itself is probably the worst level
in a
of the game.
while.
Yeah, same. Shaded Woods is probably the worst level in the game, and it's a fun level. It's a challenge, but it is, it's a challenge. Actually, I take it back. The place full of spitting poison statues is the worst level in the game.
the run to the rotten.
Yeah, because I did not find the bonfire there, and I hated it. Yeah, I hated
that
it
would
so
be
much.
bad.
It would. I had to do the whole level every time.
The Forbidden Gulch or something like that.
Yeah, the Dark Gulch or Black Gulch. It's a gulch thing.
Something like that. I'm kind of amused by that level because it is just this like 20-foot long nightmare gauntlet of traps that you're trying to figure out how to quickly navigate to get to the boss.
It's not just traps. There's a bunch of invaders. If you use it, if you go in while embered or whatever it's called, there's a bunch of people that show up.
You wish to ring the bell, do you? Sorry, I'm just remembering Dark Souls 2. It's been so long. Wow.
And then there's the Gavlan Deal, Gavlan Wheel.
Gavlan Wheel, Gavlan Deal.
That's the one.
Gavlan wants soul. Many, many soul. Ew, give us smooth.
Oh, that's the worst part. Oh, I don't
all
like
these fucking
Jesus,
voice
what am
lines.
This is like the worst play I've ever heard.
It's just the fucking...
You've never heard...
all the iconic NPCs throughout all of Dark Souls 2. And
there's the Pursuer. I think the Pursuer is a great thing. And
one
I
of
know
the things
that
I
people
hate the
him.
most about the Demon Souls remake is the fact that they fucking sanded over some of the iconicness of some of the NPCs.
Really?
Yeah. Like the fucking... I mean, have you played Demon Souls, the original?
Oh, the Demon Souls remake. I thought you were talking Dark Souls remake.
No.
Oh yeah, I didn't play either.
Like the merchant in the first chat level is incredibly voiced. He's fantastic. Just this scummy little man. He's so good. And then they fucking replace him with a more boring guy that sounds like Hamish Black or something. And you're like, he just sounds like a YouTuber now. He sounds posh.
They did do that to the whole game, didn't they? They removed the nice soundtrack. They
removed all the brassy, farty horns from all of the boss themes. Everything that was like quirky and fun about the themes got replaced by like generically proficient symphonies. Nope, there's not a lot like very... I don't like how everything blends together. It's like listening to the Beatles sing. Like, it all blends together into this nice harmony, and it all seems so clean. And I like a lot of video game music, but especially like stuff like Pathologic and Demon Souls. I like that it's like these like eccentric elements mixing together, and like each individual element like sticks out a bit and like is kind of like attention grabbing. And there's like everything feels like very deliberate, specific choices. And it makes the songs memorable, and
of course, I mean,
and remakes that sanded over to make it like the fact that they removed the laughing from the Tower Knight theme just hurts my soul.
The Tower Knight theme,
the fact that like ha 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 becomes like a bunch of like strings going no, like it's a fucking like oh man, you know, this franchise from the 80s, we're bringing it back and we're playing that iconic theme that you heard once upon a time, but now it's like slow and melodramatic and self-important. Like when they're, it feels like the equivalent of when they're like once upon a time, like Ghostbusters was this slapper nightmare. This goofy ass like song. And I chose weird song. I chose weird words for that sentence. But you know, it's got these silly themes like it's got the and then they yell Ghostbusters, but it's all goofy and there's like that fucking like
the bass line is incredible
boom,
as well.
like synthy, like stupid, like slasher sounds. And then you hear like and then like predictably you're like, oh, one day there's gonna be a reboot for this franchise. I think I predicted this and it literally happened afterwards. Is they did a reboot with like the kids or whatever, and like I think the trailer was like fucking piano, and it's like boo doo 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 doo, and it's like, oh my god, is that a ectoplasm gobstopper imagery? Oh, is that the van? Is that the trap? Then it cuts to black again. Do 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 do, like all this fucking reverence for a goofy song from the 80s. I'm like, fuck you. The point was the goofy. Don't fucking make it this dramatic hype thing. Like, oh man, I'm gonna like, you have like a hand that like dusts away at the glass, revealing a piece of iconography from your childhood, and we're hyping this up like it's a fucking war memorial. Like, fuck you. I hate this approach to nostalgia where you sand off everything that's interesting and quirky about a thing and just make it generically reverent and hype, when that's not the point of the music arrangement you're even referencing.
I wonder what they're gonna do with the Resident Evil 4, if they're gonna do the same thing.
I don't know. The Resident Evil remakes are interesting.
Because they're really toning all the goofiness down and they're going for realism.
Yeah.
In the Resident Evil 2 and 3 specifically.
I'm sad that you probably won't save a dog from a trap and then have him come back to save you during a boss fight. Because that's Resident Evil 4 is hilariously absurd. It's incredible how camp it is. And I don't know. They might do it. They might still like, I know that they toned it down a bit in Resident Evil 2, but also maybe Resident Evil 2 is kind of unintentionally absurd in some levels just because it was an old video game. Whereas Resident Evil 4 is so on purpose so often. Like, it can't not be. It's impossible. Yeah, at the beginning of the game, as a tutorial for the idea that there are, in fact, bear traps everywhere, you see a wolf with his paw caught in a bear trap. So you can rescue him with a little button prompt, and he runs away.
I remember that. Yeah, I didn't know.
And when you fight your first giant man, he rescues you a bit. Like, he helps you during the boss fight.
I remember you were trying to right.
I was expecting him to like show up more and be like or some sort of reoccurring character, but it's just like a one-off. But it's really funny that it happens.
Mm-hmm.
But over the course of Resident Evil 4, it becomes incredibly clear that this is so on purpose. It's so absurd on purpose. And at the same time, they might do that again, because as weirdly, there is a weird element of like Resident Evil 2 and 3 being pretty self-serious in their remakes, but 7 and 8 are extremely grindhouse nonsense, like the Nicolas Cage Magneto Man and everything involving the baker like father in 7 and like. And all these absurd moments of the protagonist getting dismembered and just plopping his like limbs back on with a healing item, and like, and just the absurdity of like the chainsaw duel in Resident Evil 7 and the garage boss fight in Resident Evil 7 where you're fighting over a car in a garage with no space to use it in and so on. Like, it like depends on which attitude they take, but they could absolutely, if not recreate the same silliness in 4, they could create a different version of it for sure. And I would hope they would, because I don't know how you reboot what happens in 4 to be serious. Like, there's a tiny Napoleon man. Look at him. He fights you with a statue of himself.
There is my problem with 4 in 4's narrative specifically is that there's no overarching threat in the sense of um like you see the boss and that's the boss. Let's kill the boss. Why are we not killing the boss? Because the boss decided that there's a level between me and him, and there's another level and another level, and then there's another boss after that, and it's just like
I think that Resident Evil 4 has a bad like villain presence.
Yeah.
In part because it constantly does, and this happens more in 5 also. It spends most of its runtime hyping up the current next villain, which makes it feel like just a series of episodes of, oh, this is the guy that we're building up to. I killed him. And then they don't come, they surprisingly do actually die and don't come back half the time. And then then it just has to start establishing the next guy again. And it's like, there's that, and the main villain has so little presence and isn't that interesting that even when he does show up, I don't even necessarily clock him right away as being the main villain. And it's only like near the end, I'm like, oh, I guess this is the guy that's left. I guess this is the main villain of the game? Robe guy? Okay. And then, like everyone else, he just turns into like a bleh, and you fight him. And it's fine. But yeah, Resident Evil 7 has a better through line because it has a villain you fight over and over again in various forms in a Billy Birkin sort of way, in like in a Yakuza Zero Kuze kind of way, that fucker that you fight like 7 times. So you have this like growing rivalry with a specific character that keeps coming at you. Is more of a presence than like the approach they take in Resident Evil 4 and 8, where it's just like, go over here, fight Lady Dimitrescu. Okay, go over here and fight the fish. Okay, go over here and fight the doll. Okay, go over here, fight the metal man. And it's like they have no presence outside of their chapter, and then they're never mentioned again after their chapter, despite the online hype Dimitrescu had. And 4 has that structure where it's just like, this is the Napoleon Man chapter. This is the Bayman from Dead or Alive 4 chapter, and he's got a knife.
I think the campiness, on the campiness side, I really enjoy. I never played it actually, but even though I own it, but I really enjoy watching Let's Plays of Resident Evil 2 Remake. And because I just think it's a fun game to watch. And there's Resident Evil 2 Remake specifically has an interaction between Leon and what's her name? Ava? Vera?
Ada Wong?
Ada, that's the one, yeah. Where she's like, hey, you need to do this because, you know, I'm FBI and this is like really dangerous. You need to help me. And so in the back and forth between these two characters, Leon says, I can't do this. You said it yourself. This is federal business. It's FBI stuff. And that's his line. And then Ada has a big spiel in the middle of which she kisses Leon. And she talks for a while. So there's like 2 or 3 minutes of her talking and explaining why and why it's important. And Leon goes from the line of saying, you said it yourself, I can't do it. It's federal business. And his next line is, yes, ma'am. And he walks out and never says another word in that whole scene. His whole thing is like being completely dumbfounded that she kisses him and gives him a big spiel. And the next time he talks about her, he says, I can't believe I miss her. And I just burst out laughing every time he says that. Like, dude, she just said words at you and kissed you unprompted. And you acting like you fucking dated for years. I'm like, what the hell? And it's so weird. It's like, because it feels
Leon,
like, I mean, they just...
As far as I can tell from the games I've played so far, the important thing to understand about Leon in Resident Evil 2, 4, and 6 is he's a very stupid man.
Wow.
He does not think very much. He almost never knows what the plot of the game he's in is, even by the time he finishes the story. Like, he just stumbles through a zombie mess, is surprised by everything, and like he's the least... Like, Chris seems like the meathead, but he's always more aware of what's happening by the end than Leon is. And Jill is 100% more capable than like anyone else, period, basically. And like, Leon is stupid. Like
Even
he
than
was
Barry?
he was the
Phil
he
is
was,
better than Barry? No.
Barry's barely in the franchise.
Barry has the Code Veronica too.
Barry is the side character in the first game, and then a playable character in Revelations 2, a game that no one
Revelations
besides
20.
me and Andrew played.
I've seen
Yeah.
Let's Plays, and it's
Where they
great.
introduced Barry's daughter because
Yeah, it's a great game. I thought it was great.
I kind of
Barry's
want to
like a
redo it with
nothing.
Bird sometime just for the sake of it. And I might have to I probably have to redo Revelation someday just because not only do I not really remember our original playthrough, but we lost the footage of the finale anyway, so it never finished. And so I'm like,
Oh,
in this full franchise playthrough, I got to go back and play Revelation someday. But like it happens like in like all of Resident Evil 2 is just a mess that Leon is falling ass backwards through as a rookie cop with a mix of Claire and Ada kind of guiding him along. And that's probably the one where he understood the most. In Resident Evil 4, he is just stumbling through a mess of super mutant men and barely understanding what's happening, actively dismissing half the information in front of him, and Ada is just overtly manipulating him every step of the way, and at multiple points just saves his life, while also having incredibly questionable motivations to begin with half the time, where I can't even tell what some of the scenes are trying to accomplish. Like, my favorite dumb scene is where she intentionally ambushes him for some reason right after that hedge maze, and then they fight for no reason, and then she escapes after refusing to basically say anything. And I'm like, you introduced yourself to this scene, but you don't seem to be interested in conveying any information. So what was this point? Like they're just like, a Leon and Ada scene happens for some reason. Even more confusingly, Ada, after that scene, teleports to the middle of the hedge maze for no reason, so that you have to play out of it in her campaign, but she had no reason to go in or out of it. Like, she just is in the hedge maze for some reason and trapped there, and you have to get back out, even though it's not where the cutscene took place and not the way she would leave. So she just is there now for some reason. Fuck you. Play the hedge maze again. But worst of all
best level.
Worst of all is Resident Evil 6, where the entire reason that they have a showdown between Chris and Leon where they lock blades and are are they gonna kill each other? And it's like a trailer moment they can have. Like, I think it's on the back of the box. Like, if you look at the back of the box of Resident Evil 6, it's Leon and Chris fighting, which only happens in a cutscene, and it only happens because of a massive misunderstanding, because the entire campaign, this is spoilers for Resident Evil 6, I guess, but also it's Resident Evil 6. Like,
We've been spoiling a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is I'm spoiling the twist of Resident Evil 6, but it's also the worst one. And
it's also the worst.
And you
Yeah,
either
that's fair.
know by now or would never care. So like the whole time, because this is all that ever happens with Leon. In Leon's campaign, he's just kind of weirdly kind of chasing after / being manipulated by Ada. And the whole time, Chris is being antagonized by Ada and like losing crew members to Ada and being given trauma by Ada. And then you realize, oh, there's a clone of Ada that popped out of like a egg sack, and that's the fake Ada Wong that's evil. And so the whole campaign, Leon's dealing with the good Ada and Chris is dealing with the evil Ada, and they're dressed completely differently, so they're easy to tell apart for the player. And so once again, the entire conflict that happens between Chris and Leon is because Leon doesn't know what's happening in the plot, and he never learns. This misunderstanding is never corrected. He never encounters evil Ada, and he just goes on to fight evil T-Rex man, and then his campaign just ends, having technically killed one of the main villains of the game, but having learned almost nothing and having crossed paths with almost no one, and not knowing about any of the plot involving Jake or fake Ada or Chris or what's happening in the story. Like, it's amazing how little he learns about what's happening in Resident Evil 6, which is completely in line with how he just is he's like an uncurious person. Like, he does not care about what's happening in any of the stories of the games he's in, and completely blows past most of it. It's like he's skipping the cutscenes in his own game. And it's very funny to me that in his third game, he literally doesn't even learn about the twist of what's happening around him and the misunderstanding and the thing that led to him fighting Chris. Like, he literally never learns it. He just moves on, and then this game ends. And you play all the other campaigns to learn what was happening, and it's partly because they want to set up the campaigns so that as you play each one, you learn more and have like a layered series of revelations and like a cool Zero Escape / Echo free visual novel way. But because it's Resident Evil 6, it's kind of just a train wreck, and it doesn't really work that well. Like the narrative is
And half the time doesn't even make sense.
Like like Resident Evil 6 is at its best a decent Gears of War game, and at its worst a terrible narrative and a horrible survival horror game. I still say it's better than 5 because it's actually a decently fun series of levels to play with a friend and screw around with in a Gears of War kind of way. But its attempts to be clever with its campaigns do not work. But also, it's also like very just depressing. Now that I've played Resident Evil 4, seeing how much Resident Evil 6 just remakes entire chunks of Resident Evil 4 as a reference. Like, before you get to China, so much...
than you thought.
Yeah, well, before you get to China, so much of Leon's campaign is a series of places you already did in Resident Evil 4. Like the...
Yeah.
Like there's a level of Resident Evil 4 where you go up a hill full of graves into a church. And that's like an entire Leon level in Resident Evil 4. And Resident Evil 6 is that you go up through a big hill full of, now there's dogs there and it's raining and the graves area is bigger and full of people that come out of the graves. And then you go up and you reach the courtyard in front of the church and there's a whole last stand fighting people in that courtyard. And then when you go inside that church, in addition to having a puzzle and multiple floors like there was in Resident Evil 4, there's now a fart boss fight that farts on you. And like they literally like take individual segments of Resident Evil 4 and expand them into these like huge areas in some cases, but like the number of things that are direct one-to-one things is actually really amusing. You're like, oh, okay, this is that part from 4, and that's that. Like I kept recognizing things while I was playing 4 because I've beaten 6 like 3 times.
I think the relationship between Leon and Ada is just that I think the game is written and directed in a way that it assumes the player wants the relationship to be there as fast as possible whenever there's a man and a woman on screen, because I see that as well in the, not so much the voice acting but the character acting of Claire. Whenever she meets Leon as well, she smiles so much when she sees him. It's
pretty boy.
It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like he's using
admittedly that's a lot of people's reaction to Leon, so
I mean, fair, but it's so it is
extra textually or whatever.
But it is,
it's like me for real.
You can read that into her expression. It's like she is. Oh, it's him. Is he? I get to see him again. But she's not written
gay
like that.
Resident Evil fans are very big fans of Leon and Chris.
Is it official that DSM like thong thing costume for Leon? Is it an unlockable or is it like a mod?
BDSM thong for Leon?
It's not. Yeah. There's for Resident Evil 2 remake. Resident Evil 2.
What?
Remake,
probably not.
Leon. It probably isn't.
You're probably looking at fan mods.
It probably is a fan mod, but I've seen that fan
just
mod.
Horny mods.
Horny Leon. Basically.
Is it? Wait, wait. Is it this? The one that has like his fucking police badge on his crotch?
Oh, that is it. Yeah.
Oh, so there's one that has. There's one where it's fucking it's a mostly naked Mr. X, and he's got the fucking umbrella logo on his crotch. This is just horny Resident Evil 2. I mean, I'm game.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying.
This is what
modders do. Like here's a tramp stamp version of Leon. Oopsie.
Claire's smile would be justified if Leon was wearing that. Is all I'm saying.
This is tramp stamp Leon, which he's got like a crop. It's like Resident Evil 4 Leon, but he's got a. Let's see, I don't want to delete the message. I want to delete the text.
Oh, I just found
whatever.
Just found an 8 outfit that's.
It's one that he's like wearing like a. He's wearing like a thong or something where like he's still wearing his full getup from Resident Evil 4, but it's a crop top, so his entire back, his lower back is revealed, and his underwear is like way over his hips, like riding high. He's got a tramp stamp. Like people just do this, and I support this. This is fun. When I was trying to figure out how to install my Jedi Fallen Order mod so that I could play as Marrow, because COG gave me the files, but I didn't have any idea actually how to mod the game, and I did like spend a few hours researching that. I quickly found that people have been very enthusiastically nude modding the protagonist of that game too. Like, and I don't even mean underwear. I just mean like just dick out the entire game with physics.
Yeah.
People are just having their fun.
I support this.
I do not. How dare you? I can't believe any of you have the audacity to.
It's very amusing to me. The only thing I'm iffy on is just the fact that it is a real person, and so maybe they should replace.
I didn't think about that.
I was thinking maybe
weird.
they should maybe replace his face if they're gonna nude mod the actor.
Oh yeah,
unintentional deep faking. Like
it effectively is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a pretty weird.
It goes back to like the Elliot Page controversy, where back in Beyond Two Souls, people like modded it to change the camera angle, and he had a no nudity clause in all of his contracts with games and movies and everything.
Mm.
So he was mad that his character had like a full model, and that you couldn't. I don't think you could like look at it in the game, but people quickly figured out how to mod to like look around and so on. And yeah, there's definitely like a whole crisis with your. There's also a whole crisis with these kinds of properties where it's like, if you. Like you and I'm not saying this is good. I'm not saying this is like excused or whatever, but like. It's a thing to understand is that if you take work to have your face in a modern video game, people are going to immediately data mine that out of the game and put it on Pornhub. Like, people are going to make porn animations of any popular 3D video game. And so that does create like a bit of an iffy thing when you're like, but this is specifically a likeness of a specific real person and not just like video game man. Who is video games?
Yeah.
I know, that's messy.
Yep, it's a matter of I mean, it literally is a matter of consent, but also legally it is a matter of consent. Because, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be much more illegally a matter of consent if it was in any way in the game, obviously.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at just non-specific costume mods, and the things that you see Claire wear, they're basically just as horny as Leon, the Leon mods. So it's just like,
oh yeah, that's just standard. Yeah. I'm just impressed that there's equal opportunity at this point. The furries are too powerful. They know how to code.
They are the coders.
They might not be as large of a demographic, but they're very talented, and they will get the male mods in now too. Flashback to like, I talked about this before, but like just when I played KOTOR, when I looked into mods to potentially like just make the game work better on PC and stuff like that, I was just kind of like immediately noticing that all the most popular mods were make all the women prettier, and they were made by a series of like somebody like giving better like trying to upscale and make and improve the faces of all the characters as a series of mods. But it was very noticeable that people specifically like the women were all more popular than the men, which is like two things. Like, one, it's like this, you can tell their motivation of like why they're trying to mod that specifically, but also like, why do you selectively only want the women to look better? Like, why don't you, if you care about upscaling, why wouldn't you install all of the characters? They're all going to be in your game. So it's just strange to me.
If it's so for me, if it's a separate pack, like if I have to go and download women, men, aliens, all as individual packs to upgrade, I'm only going to pick one of them, because that's the more separate mods you continue adding, the more risky it starts becoming to something going wrong.
Yeah, it should be all one.
It should be all one pack.
I'm not talking about like crowds and
pack,
randoms and extras and bosses or anything. I just mean like your party members.
That's what I'm saying though. Like if you have to go do it for each individual party member, I'm not gonna go out of my way to do that, except for if it's all individual, then I'm only gonna do it for the one party member that I care about. Like otherwise I'm not gonna find myself doing it to multiple, so that's probably why. And you're probably gonna
so
find
weird to have one character that's a different resolution than everyone else.
Skyrim does this all the fucking time.
It does.
Every mod for Skyrim is like, one NPC is just amazing now, and everyone else can just go fuck themselves.
The armor
You're
and
like,
items.
why? Yeah,
Exactly.
it's so weird. But again, like Fallout does this too. There's a lot of Fallout ones where like, I made this one quest giver amazing, and everyone else is still poopy. And I'm like, oh, okay, thanks, dude. I'm glad that guy looks amazing.
Honestly,
If I ever am forced to let's play Skyrim, I'm bringing Inigo with me.
If you have to do Skyrim.
Yeah, well,
would feel
like
bad
Patreon. If
Skyrim for
Patreon suddenly
any-
like, fuck you, play Skyrim finally. I'm like, I'm modding Inigo into the game.
Jesus.
what
he's
is
the-
Inigo? Who is Inigo?
He's the purple cat man that is a completely fan created companion that has over 7,000 voice lines.
in Skyrim.
Like, yeah, he's just
Well,
in the
game,
he's a
Skyrim,
fan
you can mod him
created
in, but he's
companion
not
that
free.
just is
yeah.
designed to accompany you through the entire game in a sort of BioWare-esque way of just like having a character with a fuck ton of dialogue and reactions and just kind of like add more to the game and feel like a thing. I can't fully judge his impact on the game because I've never beaten Skyrim, let alone use this mod, but it would just be more tolerable to just play there's so much fan art of just this character that doesn't even exist in the game and is completely a mod that was fan created.
Hey,
Like-
honey cakes.
Like I've seen montages of him having like a bunch of unique dialogue specifically to due to like there's a whole video you can watch that's just his series of unique reactions to you being a werewolf now. And he's got like 30 jokes and so on,
cool.
just to kind of riff off of just like ambient dialogue when you're walking around and you're a werewolf. It's just a high effort thing.
That makes
Like-
sense though. If everyone, if a group of people universally latch onto an OC, then you can probably
Yeah.
find yourself having a lot of content for that OC pretty quickly.
That would it would make the game more tolerable, probably.
Probably not. I promise you,
biggest-
it's not going to make Skyrim better. Like Skyrim will be shit no matter what you do.
Oh yeah,
to
no,
it.
I'd prefer to never play Skyrim.
The problem with Skyrim is that it is a game about walking around dungeons that give you the same loot over and over and over again
Oh
without fail. Where you fight the same enemies over and over and over again without fail. But the dungeons sometimes are different and they're kind of interesting.
Skyrim
But
will
there's
likely quickly remind me of how bad Kingdoms of Amalur was.
Yeah. No, actually, Skyrim might be quite a little bit better than Kingdoms of Amalur. But there's zero thought given to environmental storytelling. There's zero thought given to enemy composition because the AI doesn't support things like, more than one enemy fighting you at a time in a way that is challenging and interesting. So it's just like,
Like I've already played Morrowind and Oblivion, and Morrowind was fairly interesting because you actually had to engage with mechanics to even figure out how to progress because of how rough it is to even accomplish anything at the beginning, and you have to explore and you have to learn where things physically are the whole time because of its lack of markers. Oblivion, when I look back at it, I figure I was super hooked to it, but I think that was exclusively because I had never played anything like that before at that time.
that's fair.
Like I played it as a
I think,
teenager.
That makes sense.
I think the
And
same happens for Skyrim for a lot of people.
It's like,
Which is fair.
it's like for the next generation of people, Skyrim came out. So if you're younger than me, Skyrim was like incredible. Wow, this has never happened before. But it's not interesting. It's just in the grand scheme of like genre awareness and experience with the video games, Skyrim just does not seem to offer much.
In its defense, the writing is utilitarian and the lore is very deep, and the game does make an effort
I'm
to
not
tell
used to
its own
I'm not
story.
used to hearing utilitarian described as a good thing in dialogue, but I guess you mean that it's not like doesn't waste your time with an ungodly
Yes.
amount of writing, because a lot of
100%.
Western
Yes.
RPGs just keep writing. They just keep
Especially
writing.
Kingdoms
I'm
of
like, stop
Amalur,
writing.
Yeah, particularly as an example, Kingdom of Amalur. But
Oh my God.
that is what I mean. Yeah, that is 100%. The game does not want you to be wowed by its writing quality, but it doesn't. I mean, it works well enough. The writing, it's not great, but like when you find this rebel leader or this vampire lord, or there's like this multi-empire conspiracy thing going on, or even the small quests this person has trouble with, like draugrs elsewhere in a dungeon or whatever. It's even simple things. The game, it does a competent job. It's just not an interesting job.
Brought to you by the company whose genius idea was for the next game to just have fucking procedurally generated quests.
Yeah.
Like that's their level of like their expectation of like how much it's valuable to have meaningful content versus like just time consuming content, is that fucking Fallout 4 was like had the Radiant quest system where without warning you, characters would just start giving you quests that are nothing. They're just like, there is this enemy over at this location, so could you take care of that? And then they would just send you on that loop infinitely if you didn't realize that they were fucking wasting your time.
But also, my problem with Fallout 4 came before that, though, is that the writing is infuriating. It isn't utilitarian.
Fallout 4 is awful.
It's full of itself and thinks it's hot shit, and it's not. It's the worst thing. And all the characters are insufferable and bad people, and not in the interesting way like Breaking Bad or whatever. They think they're good people. The writers think they're good people. No, they're terrible. They're awful people.
I still haven't forgiven that game just for the fact that like when you, I guess spoilers for Fallout 4, but like when you get into the Institute or whatever, like I'll dance around some unnecessary spoilers for this particular thing, but like you can find a computer that just says all the bad shit that they're up to that completely contradicts what their leader has been telling you about this place, and you can't bring it up. Like they didn't think,
I've seen a video about this.
Yeah, it was my video probably where I was pissed at this game. We're like you because that's what happened in my playthroughs. I found all this documentation about all the fucked up shit they're up to that contradicts everything they've been saying about what their actual mission and tactics are, and you can't, like, what's the point of giving me this information if I can't use it? Like, you cannot confront anyone about the information you found, which is such a basic CRPG thing to have, is like, oh, you found this note that's like the secret motives of the bad guys and whatnot. This changes everything. You should be able to bring up this note. Like, I just hit a point in Planescape where I found a thing that contradicts what my party member's been telling me all game, and I can confront him about it, because of course you can. But they didn't even think to do that. So it's like, well, why did you include this weird piece of intel? The only thing I can do, is just shoot someone. I can't talk to a single person about this thing. All I can do is shoot someone with no narrative context for why I shot that person. And now the game's like, you've instantly been obliterated out of this entire storyline. And and what happened to me is like, betraying any Institute member in any way instantly voips out the entire storyline with the Institute. But also the Railroad's entire storyline was also about this plan with the Institute. So that also instantly fails. So I just fucking like, you just get plopped out into the fail-safe storyline of like, I guess you're gonna get Preston's ending now, because we
no more quests.
Like, it's like, yeah, it's up there with when we shot the statue in Wasteland 3, and that instantly ended several entire worlds of stories, but except it was the main story. So me firing on one guy went so far back out of all of the narratives that were nested in that game at that point that they were just like, fuck it, like, we made a shitty other thing you can do, I guess, instead. Go play that now. It has no connection to what you've been doing, but that's going to be the ending you go on now, or you're not going to have any satisfying outcome for anything you did.
Yep. But
now we're just ranting about games we half remember that we played 6 years ago.
I never played Fallout 4. I couldn't suffer through the characters. I was very infuriated by the robot. I thought it was a joke at my expense, and it takes forever. He never shuts up, and I didn't like that at all. But I'm okay with putting up with it, because even though it's the first character that you find in the game, it's okay. I can put up with it. I was also very infuriated by the fact that they just ported the mod, they have the mod creation tool that they have. They basically ported it into the game to allow you to create settlements, and it's as janky as the mod creation tool. Actually, it's worse. It's way worse than the mod creation tool, because it's actually a tool. In the game, it's janky. But still, I spent a few hours messing around with that and figuring out that, yeah, it's just like the mod creation tool. And then I went and did the first few quests, and the characters were all... I just wanted to kill them all because they were the worst. And killing them doesn't do anything, because the game is not prepared for you to think that they're the worst. It's like the arena in Oblivion, where nobody addresses the fact that it's basically people killing each other for no reason, for the profit and pleasure of other people, and nobody thinks it's bad. And I'm like, no, you're all awful people, all of you. It's like, and it never goes addressed, 100%. And there's some points in Oblivion where it should have been addressed, and I remember the last time I played it, I made a point to note when it makes sense to address it. And just... But Oblivion is also the game that has one of the guards go, "Oh, you would have been a good officer," or whatever, when I do a quest for the guards. And it's like, it's treated as like this movie, this cop movie kind of moment that cements, as it is pretty obvious, but it does cement the role of the guard in Oblivion as the police. Which for those who don't know, the modern concept of policing, or I suppose the modern concept of police, because policing can be applied in different things and it's different, but the modern concept of police is very modern. It's from basically the late 1800s and early 1900s, and it is related to a bunch of political things, including hunting down slaves and other stuff. But that's beside the point. In medieval times, there were no cops. there were armies, and there were bounty hunters, and there were guards for sure, but not like in Oblivion. Oblivion is just basically there's cops. In Morrowind, not so much, which is interesting.
Yeah, it does make the game surprisingly ahistorical by just not having the basic rules of like how that kind of universe would likely function.
Yeah, but the thing is, the same way normal people and viewers are surprised when they find out that, oh wait, they didn't have cops in medieval times, and it is reasonable to assume that the developers at Bethesda also wrote the guard in Oblivion thinking that there were cops in medieval times, which is just... that's bad, because they're the writers. They should have known better. They should have understood how their world is very specific. It's like, I don't know, having the stock market or like people paying mortgage or rent or whatever every month or whatever in medieval times. Or
I do not like the idea. Oh God, the medieval stock market. All right, it's time for us to wrap this up. We are way over time.
The medieval,
not way over time,
but we only have occasional podcasts. Well, I try to make this 2 hours.
That's true.
3 hours is a lot.
So then we are way over time.
It still says 2 hours.
That's what I said.
So we're in time. It's 2 hours and 50 minutes.
That's not how time works. That's not how time works at all. All right,
how old are you? It is how time works, because I'm 35, but I have a little bit on top of 35, but I'm still 35. Does it make sense? So it's still 2 hours.
No, it's about to be 3 hours if you keep delaying it.
You're about to hit that point.
Let's go.
Anyway, you can send your questions to Dialog Choices podcast. No. Yes. No. Yes. Oh wow! All of my most recent messages for months now. All of my most recent messages in this folder are like weird ads.
Yes.
Like
okay.
We have Dialog Choices podcast at gmail.com. We occasionally podcast and even more occasionally answer questions, so you can do that. Thanks for watching like always, guys, and I'll see you next time.
Bye. Goodbye.